Hello, Nicholas Sanzoni. Oh, I need to turn my light on. My light's not working. Why is my light not working? My light's not working because it's not lighted. Hello, everyone. Right, hold on. A couple of things I need to do. Oh god, already my PC is struggling and we're what, like a couple of minutes in? I've got like 4 tabs open. Fucking hell. Oh, actually, wait 1 second. There's something I just need to sort quickly. Hold on. There we go. Right, all is well now, and I'm ready to sort of begin. Hello everyone that's here. Hello Chris Kunstler. Have we decided, there was a lot of discussion yesterday about whether it should be constituents or whatever it would be. Many options to decide. You know what, we'll leave it up for interpretation. We'll wait for a long time until we decide. But you know, you got to remember that people who are on Twitch initially get priority. Watching this is 144p with no data on my phone. I missed your nurse stream. How was it? Yeah, it was good, thank you. Can't we do a crowdfunding for a PC? I mean, I can afford to get a PC. It's just kind of like doing it that I don't want to do. I don't quite know how to describe it really. Do you have a filter on your mic to not pick up the jet engine noises? No. Why? Does it sound like it's not there? Gunsnatarians was the one I preferred, yeah. I feel a bit strange right now, and I was hoping that I was going to have a debate today with someone, but sadly they were rude and they didn't want to debate, so yeah. I've been listening to Thaura, and it's as excellent as you said. Abdul is a well of knowledge. I mean, he is indeed. It's very good. It's very good. Just ask a PC YouTuber. The problem is just like, I don't know, it's just what I'm doing in life and stuff, and whether I'll get it, when I'll get it and what I'll do. I mean, I can get one. I don't spend money, so, you know, it's kind of fine, but yeah. I was excited when I heard the news that the UK was suspending the trade deal with Israel, but then I actually listened to Lammy's speech, and it seems so weak. I thought Lammy's speech was quite strong, but, you know, I didn't think it was, I think it could have been better. Spill the tea. What kind of tea? I'm not drinking any. Who didn't want to debate you? Oh, her name's, hold on, I'll show you her TikTok. If you use TikTok, you'll be familiar with her. We've had a long-standing beef ever since she said that people in Gaza weren't innocent, but, yeah, here's her video about me.
That they've been working within the Israel advocacy space, but you only have 30,000 followers. You're not generating your own income. You are being paid by the Israeli government, or at least an NGO.
For those of you who
I don't know why everyone feels the need to censor this video and just include that, no, I wasn't going to debate Ethan. Not at all.
who haven't had the absolute pleasure of interacting with Chris Kuntler, let me tell you.
Also, they think that they've come up with like this genius name for me of calling me Chris Kuntler. Like, I'm not 12. It doesn't really affect me calling me a cunt.
The exact formula that he uses in order to get out of conversations that he
and is a fervent supporter of the Islamic regime. False. Chris Kunstler is fluent in Farsi and is a fervent supporter of the Islamic regime in Iran. It's foreign regimes like Hezbollah and the Houthis, Bashar al-Assad and Iran's goals. Not your typical grifter for views and likes. I'm not really sure that I'm a fervent supporter of any of these regimes and why that would make me a classic grifter. So he's paid by Iran. Got it. What's his stance on Masha Amini? Interesting. God, I put Ethan in the title. But no, I'm not debating Ethan Klein, don't worry. I was just going to talk about like his behaviour yesterday in a bit, but I'll talk about some other things.
He knows he's not intelligent enough to have. You could see him doing it here with Liv, which, by the way, I highly recommend you go follow her. And he's done this with countless other pro-Zionist accounts, myself included.
I haven't done this with countless other pro-Zionist accounts. It's not true.
A long time ago, he made a video where he was shit-talking me, basically saying that I wasn't intelligent enough to speak on Israel.
I'm not sure what video I made about her. I'll find it in a second.
Palestine. So when I
And also, by the way, I did watch the Bad Empanada Hassan talk. It's actually quite interesting, and especially because Bad Empanada is so, like, anti-Hassan. But when they actually spoke to each other, it wasn't quite like that, but it was interesting.
Challenged him to...
Well, this girl's a really interesting case because my friend sent me quite a few videos about her. And basically what the video says, she got a Palestinian boyfriend and then they broke up and now they are... now she's gone back to being a Zionist, so that's an interesting story.
To a formal debate, he accepted, right? So we could see who really doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Well, the next day he decides that he's going to completely stop responding and that he's not actually going to set up this debate.
So the reason I did... Actually, should explain it.
I was confused, so I reached out and asked him why. He said that he had proof that I was getting paid by Israel, and he didn't...
I didn't say that at all.
Want to contribute to the propaganda tool. Obviously, I asked him for this proof because it's just simply not true, and he had none. He just went back to ignoring me. Well, a few months...
Also, like, I didn't go back to ignoring her. What I said was I don't want to platform her when she had, like, 30,000 followers. But then the problem is that then she got loads of followers because she made, like, some videos, like, saying Luigi Mangione is bad, and I don't even know what else, like, Trump's tariffs are epic. And so, yeah, it's quite interesting, but, so basically, I was going to debate this person, but she's not interested, sadly. She sent me quite a rude message.
Later, when my account started to grow more and more on my old main account and reached around the same amount of followers he has, he reached out to me again, saying that he was now willing to have this debate because he wasn't afraid that I was using him for clout anymore. See, Chris Kuntler is exactly what he accuses everybody else of being, a grifter. All this man...
I also, like, I didn't change my views because I was having sex with someone, and nor would I ever change my views on the basis of to impress someone, so, you know...
cares about his views and followers and his platform and...
Well, she ostensibly doesn't have any bitterness towards her Palestinian ex, but she supported the genocide and then stopped supporting the genocide and was going to convert to Islam or something. So it's quite interesting. Yeah, I've been serving Kuntler recently.
Monetizing. He doesn't actually care about the information that he's speaking on, because if he did, he would be looking for those who he felt were going to intellectually challenge him, not just those who have the same amount of followers.
The point was just I don't want to platform someone who says that they want people to die, and yeah.
Liv could clear the floor with him.
I mean, I'd happily debate Liv. Liv is the Christian extremist who I was sort of thinking about debating. Who I made a video about the other day. I'll see if I can find this video about her. I'm sure it had, like, a lot of likes. Yeah, hold on, I'll find it.
Any single day, but he knows that he can't actually focus on the reality of what she's saying because he would look like an embarrassment.
I don't know what the reality of what she's saying really. Oh, it was that people deserve to die in Gaza, basically.
So he has to go for the propaganda of, oh, you're being paid. He has to go for the...
And by the way, she categorically was being paid. I don't know if any of you saw this, but it was like a video of mine that sort of popped off recently about this Zionist girl who was definitely being paid by an organization adjacent to the Israeli government.
Low blows of, look at your follower count, right?
It's also not what I said, look at your follower count. It's just not what I said at all.
Right? Because he thinks he's all the way up here because TikTok lied to him and made him feel very, very special.
TikTok didn't make me feel special. That's not why I think I know bits about this. I'd say that more my degrees are what make me feel like pretty knowledgeable about this.
A star student when it comes to TikTok University, but unfortunately he can't back that up, and he knows that, which is why he looks for every single which way out of the conversation.
I literally sent her a message today saying I would debate her.
And who do you work for?
So if you want to see
Who do you work?
So basically what happened is this. Is donating to UNRWA and other groups still helpful even though Israel blocks the aid? I mean, I think so. I think that there's some merit to especially doing that. But money in Palestine's quite a difficult thing right now because I don't think there's anything you can spend money on, but I think people still need it. But yeah. No, Eve Fartlow is insufferable. But yeah, like, hold on.
Work for Passages Israel.
Thank you, Chris. Allow me
This is Riverwand. He's a nice guy. Shout out. He's sometimes in the chat. I don't think he is, but yeah.
to take over on Passages. The company that employs this girl is called Passages, founded by Rivka Kidron and Scott Phillips. Rivka Kidron was the advisor to Christian affairs in Israel.
It's so funny, bro. It's like, I'm told that I'm like some deranged liar who like just insults people. Are your degrees specifically on the Palestinian issues? Well, I don't have a degree in Palestine studies, but I did a lot of modules on Palestine-related stuff. My degrees are technically in Middle Eastern studies, but like you don't choose. It's not like America where you choose like specific aspects of that to focus on. But yeah, I did a lot.
Directly under Benjamin.
Yeah, I think that the thing is quite difficult. But this video, sorry, I think that like things are so expensive and that there isn't even anything to buy.
Netanyahu. They say they're...
God, Jesus Christ, I put Ethan in the title and everyone's watching. I don't want to just be like an Ethan Klein YouTuber, but I will talk about it.
Main focus is to foster solidarity between Christian college students in the U.S. and Israel. It says here she is leveraging her expertise and connections with Israel's top political and business leadership. Rivka also runs a firm that is known for creating exclusive, content-driven Israel travel and has partnerships with government, investors, and business leaders from around the globe. And they will claim to work...
I think it's hard, and I think that there are some people who could give you a more succinct answer on that topic of where the best place to donate to is. But, you know, I think I donated to Noah, and I think everyone should if they can. You know, I think it's a good cause, and I think raising money for UNRWA is important because Israel's denying it like a mandate to function, basically.
For a non-profit, but the people funding this is the president of Hobby Lobby, Steve Green.
Also, again, I mentioned this the other day, but Hobby Lobby, so the organisation that funds this like crazed Christian lady, just look at this. This is on Wikipedia. You can read about it, and I'm sure you could just pull up a thing. They purchased $1.6 million worth of Iraqi artifacts from dealers in the UAE. Of course, they were from the UAE. The artifacts were largely cuneiform tablets, clay bulle, and cylinder seals. Basically, they just purchased shit that was stolen from like Iraqi people. It's kind of insane, and now it's funding like people to make pro-Israel content about why it's okay to kill people on the internet. Is Noah extending his stream?
The founder of Home Depot, Bernard Marcus, and the main donor being Paul Singer, a venture...
Actually, we're going to start a crowdfunder to pay for me to buy stolen artifacts for Iraq so I can share them with them. Thank you very much, Marzia.
Capitalist. Paul Singer is also the founder of...
It is genuinely the Hobby Lobby, yes. It's funded by these guys who basically used it as a thing. Yeah, I know. For some reason, the Middle East Eye interview, loads of people said that was staged or that I was reading off a teleprompter. Honestly, that was out of the blue. I'd just been interviewing Jeremy Corbyn, so like, yeah, it wasn't anything to do with that.
Defense of democracies while also helping Israel partner with big tech firms.
Honestly, if you're not familiar and you're not a big reader, I would recommend Thawra. Thawra's really good on the Middle East. It's a podcast that's freely available on... Well, I guess it might not be free on Spotify, but The Dig makes it freely available, The Dig Radio.
A lot of these people are psychopaths, evangelical Christians that believe Israel winning will bring the second coming of Jesus. And on top of that, they have large investments in Israel, meaning if Israel becomes a pariah and countries or companies start to divest, it directly impacts their bags. Their job is to shape the next generation of Christian leaders to support Israel. This girl got played by propaganda. Israel propaganda has got this girl so...
The only thing I don't agree with Riverwand here is I'm not sure this girl got played by Israel propaganda. I think she's fucking happy to do it because you can get money from it. The Corbyn interview isn't out yet. I've got to edit it together. It won't take long. I've just been putting it off because So I do actually have like a sort of job, but the work's very sporadic and I've been working on that. And it's like basically just reading through something and helping one of my former lecturers work on some research stuff. And yeah, it's pretty interesting, but it can be pretty time consuming. But yeah, hopefully, I saw that Noah might be interviewing Rashid Al-Haddad, the guy who's from Yemen, but yeah. But your audio is way louder than the video. I know, and I don't know why that is.
Good that she has lost her humanity, even while studying genocide. She can't even...
Hello, Durr Rider, how are you doing? I mean, I don't know if everyone's seen this. I guess we could watch it. We kind of watched it in the context of... let's watch it.
So, Chris Kunzler.
So I was at the Middle East, this was at the protest.
Can you tell me why you're here today?
This is a comment that I loved. It's like when you see your teacher outside of school, and also I mentioned this yesterday, someone accused me of being a pedophile on here. It's not true.
Okay.
To protest Israel's genocide, I mean, the scenes coming out of Gaza last night were abhorrent, as they have been for the last 15 months. but
No editing for an Arabic translator. And hello, Lily.
in particular was unbelievable. The destruction of places like Jabalia, Shujaya, all of these places in Gaza being wiped away. And this is the least that we can do, you know, being on the street, protesting, and trying to stand against Israel's genocide.
Have you always been an advocate for the Palestinian cause?
Since when I was younger, no. But the only reason I wasn't is because you're not taught about this in
So there's actually a slight bit of misinformation from here. I was actually taught about Palestine, but technically not when I was at school. I was taught about it when I was in sixth form, which in the UK is like college equivalent in some places. But I was taught about it in the context of learning about the Middle East, and they tried to like be objective, ostensibly. But what it really was basically like teaching us what was happening without giving us like, you know, all of the information or like understanding it really well.
in schools. You're not taught about.
And on the topic of, I envy people like you who can actually voice their opinions in a really coherent manner, to be honest. I mean, the reason I can voice it in such a way is because, one, I've studied it for ages, and two, because, well, actually, no, that's really it. And there's like a quote at like, I think it's at the start of, I think it's at the start of Franz Fanon's The Wretched of the Earth. And what they say in what Fanon says is that these were once like thoughts that were like anger in my head, and now this is like a book. And I think that that's sort of it. Chris, your audio. Oh, for fuck's sake. Franz Fanon's The Wretched of the Earth. Okay, yeah. I think it's sometimes some glitch with YouTube. God, it's mad. They're fucking putting Ethan in the title. I don't just want to become an Ethan streamer. Maybe it was a bit foolish, but yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I hope that you support what I'm saying and my criticism of Israel. I hope that you can work towards abandoning Zionism.
Oh, there's an injustice happening to Palestinians that, you know, Jewish people moved over to the land, dispossessed the indigenous people, and then have since subjugated them. But when I did learn, I began to understand that Palestinians deserve the right to live freely. And ever since that point, I have never stopped advocating for Palestine.
And Donald Trump has just finished his tour of the Middle East.
So what made me do Middle Eastern studies was that I studied basically what was happening in the... I learnt about it at school, and it's actually just like... You know, there's some things that just happen in your life that are just like luck, pure luck. Sorry, there was something on my hand. But the luck was basically that I fucked up my A-levels for like some personal reasons. And, oh, shout out Do Not Worry. The big shout out. Everyone go and watch Do Not Worry when you can. I was enjoying your stream about AB recently. I haven't had a chance to watch since, actually, unfortunately. But yeah, shout out Do Not Worry. I think when you mentioned that I should come, one of my friends has been telling me for years that I should visit Beirut. And I think maybe, you know what, in the near future, I would actually really like to visit Do Not Worry. Visit fucking Beirut. I know you're not the whole of the thing. It seems like a very interesting place, and I think I'd probably have a better time there than Jordan, say, for example. And so perhaps in the near future I would actually love to do that.
Pushing for his Freedom Zone plan in Gaza, but not a drop of aid has got in. What do you think about his latest statements?
Do you support Hamas respectfully? It's illegal to support Hamas in the United Kingdom, so no, I don't support Hamas. That would be get me in legal trouble. I think that the concept of Palestinian resistance to Israeli genocide and Israeli occupation is completely acceptable and completely moral. I'm also not a political Islamist, so I don't really agree with, say, Hamas's political program. The only point of, say, agreement that I would have with a group like Hamas is, and especially in the context of what's legally acceptable in this country, is that they fight for a two-state solution, and I think that that is a reasonable thing to do. They say they fight for the liberation of Palestine rather than a two-state solution. I don't really believe in a two-state solution. I believe in one kind of thing that abandons the concept of, you know, states based on ethnicity. If you want to read something about this, I'd highly recommend Neither Settler Nor Native, which is by Mahmoud Mamdani, who is Zohran Mamdani's dad. And what the basic thing is that nation states as a concept have failed, because nation states basically, the nation is the people and the state is like the political entity, and the states are meant to serve, states exist to serve the nation in the modern era, and this basically fails because states are, states are now made up of people from many different ways. And I think that, yeah, I think that in many ways you should move towards that you should move away from this concept. And so I genuinely don't really support the concept of nations. The only reason that I am supportive of a Palestinian national liberation is because it is an articulation that exists against apartheid and oppression. And yes, realistically, it's a reimagining of the current one state, because Israel is not interested in a two-state solution. It's why the very concept is a misnomer, because when people talk about it, what they're saying with a two-state solution is, we need to negotiate between Israel and the Palestinians. But Israel has never shown an interest in negotiation. And by the way, I've been watching it, but it keeps popping up on my fucking For You, is Loner Box and Destiny's trip to Israel. And there's a bit where they interview Shlomo Ben-Ami, who had a debate with Finkelstein years ago. And what he talks about in that is, he says, like, oh, if I was a Palestinian, I would have rejected Camp David. But what all of these things don't say, he's like, oh, the Palestinians, we came with these great offers and we did all of these things, and, you know, oh, it's like the Palestinians could have got something then. Palestinians, what he's basically saying is, Palestinians were meant to accept 22% of their historic homeland, whilst the colonizers got 78% of it, and they were just sort of meant to accept that. And even then, what was proposed after that was them saying, well, you can't even have the 22%. It is a reduced amount of that. And this is, by the way, what Abdul Razak Takrisi kept on saying to me over and over again. You know, you have to, like, what you have to say about this is that, look, Palestinians did not reject Zionism on the basis of, like, oh, we don't want Jewish people here, we don't want refugees and stuff. What they actually rejected was the establishment of states and institutions there. You can read about the early state period when people bring up, like, oh, Palestinians are doing this to Jewish people. They massacred them in Hebron and in 1920 and 1921 at the Nebi Musa riots. It's just not really true. How the fuck are you going to throw your own people under the bus like that? Who do you mean, my own people? Who are you talking about? Oh, I see who you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, it is pretty fucked. But also, Lebanese, he's a Maronite, in my understanding. Yeah, I'm not sure what you sort of, why you're watching my videos if you're just going to post Israeli flags. Please don't post Israeli flags. We don't want to see it. Like, look, it's not, like, you're not, like, I'm sorry, but Israeli flags at this point are literally just like a German flag and posting one in the 1920s and 30s, you know. Like, genuinely, I think that it's not an articulation of anything beyond oppression of Palestinians. I'm sorry.
I think it's pretty mad that Trump is just willing.
I loved also, there's a new guy doing the Middle East stuff, and I just love this. Like, when he was filming me, he just did this weird zoom in.
To change so easily, basically, that Trump is willing to go from, like, basically, it seems that they were willing to offer a cessation of the blockade in exchange for Edan Alexander, the Israeli prisoner of war, and yet, in reality, they did nothing. They just...
So in my understanding, this is sort of the maddest part, that basically they said that there was going to be an end to the blockade. Steve Witkoff ostensibly promised it. And now Drop Site News are claiming that Hamas are only going to accept a deal if there's a handshake between Khalil al-Hayya and Trump, apparently. But I'm not so sure I believe that. Whether we see that, I don't know.
Just allowed Israel to worsen the crimes there. And it's kind of unbelievable, but in many ways... What do you expect? The guy's an ultra-Zionist, many people in his cabinet...
And also, for the people saying I have a sleeper build, unfortunately at the moment, I've gained quite a lot of weight. I need to lose some, but I am still quite jacked, to be honest. Like, I'm not mega strong or like in bodybuilding shape, but I've been to the gym. Khalil al-Hayya is Hamas's head negotiator.
Do not even believe that Palestinians have a right to even a two-state solution, which many in the West don't, but at least they're willing to pay lip service to it. But yeah... Just unbelievable, a horrifying character, but in many senses unsurprising because of the people he was with. Mohammed bin Zayed, Mohammed bin Salman, all of these people have done nothing for Palestine, so it doesn't really mark that big a change, I have to say.
So, Chris,
are you going to talk about important issues like Eurovision? I mean, I can talk about Eurovision. I was actually thinking about it, but I was thinking about it more in the context of, like, we just keep hearing, basically, like, for Israelis, right? Like, whilst people of Gaza are being exterminated, being starved, being denied all of these things, Israelis are just talking about crap like this. Like, this is Naftali Bennett, by the way, who said, like, something about... I can't remember what the exact quote is. And sorry, to say, Tony Soprano, love it, you know the answer to that question as to whether I'm natty or not. You know the answer, and the answer is, of course, not. But yeah... Fanon's essay, The Pitfalls of National Conscience, makes a great point on the imperfect resistance. Also going to speak by Spivak. I've not read much Spivak, and I probably would like to, but I would also like to learn... I would also like to read The Pitfalls of National Conscience. Why do I know that as well? Is that in... Wretched? Is that in Wretched of the Earth? Or am I going insane? I haven't read The Wretched of the Earth in about 2-3 years, so... I read The Wretched of the Earth whilst I was in Turkey and Azerbaijan, not fucking Azerbaijan, while I was in, I saw a recent Guardian head. Okay, so on this topic of 14,000 Palestinians, children, babies are going to die, I'm not actually 100% sure if this is like, 100% like confirmed, but I think the truth is it doesn't, like, this is the thing that someone like who wants to deny the Gaza genocide would do. They would go, well, actually, you know, Israel's only killed 12,000 babies, and it's just like, God, yeah, hit me up if you need some DIY testosterone. Yeah, bro, my testosterone's lacking, but isn't boldness like a sign of having it? And have I been to Turkey? Yeah, I went to Turkey quite recently. I went to Turkey in 2023. I went to Istanbul for like a week or so, and I quite liked it. It was a nice place. Hassan Harbi bookmarked. All of you love that. Exactly. I think that's the point, Lemon Wizard. You know, I think it's a good point of highlighting, hey, there's like an expert saying that this is about to happen. But yeah, I'm teed up to the max. Exactly. Testosterone makes you go bald. Bro, I can't lose this. Look at my... Actually, I'm not going to pull my hairline back, but I don't have hairline... I don't have hair issues. My hair's thick. My hair is thick, bro. Look at it. It's thick. But yeah, this is Naftali Bennett. Like, honestly. Okay, right. So he's harking... This is Naftali Bennett. I killed many Arabs. I've killed many Arabs in my life. There's no problem with that. It's like, you know, you're reading a quote about this guy reacting to the Spanish Prime Minister saying, hey, let's maybe get Israel out of Eurovision. And he's like, are they expelling Jewish people from Spain? And it's like, yeah, historically the Spanish did that, but also I would say what the key point here is that much more, actually this is an interesting thing, in Neither Settler Nor Native, what Mamdani describes as the most important year in human history is 1492, because two things happened. Columbus discovers the Americas, and the Jewish people begin being expelled along with Muslim people from Spain. And one of the things about this is basically that this is the invention of, according to Mamdani, of like the modern nation state and also race in a sense. I'm not sure everyone would agree with the race element of it. I think that there's quite a mixed opinion on this. But anyway, he works for a state that now kills Palestinians and is the one like trying to expel actual Palestinians. And it's saying expelling Jews again. And it's just like whining about fucking Eurovision, man. Like, Eurovision for them is all they have to cling to. They need, like, these cultural victories where Israel gets fucking second in Eurovision. They're like Arsenal fans, as someone put it. These people are like, oh, you know, we got second in Eurovision. It shows you the world loves Israel, whilst also claiming everyone's anti-Semitic. And it's just, yeah. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is actually, by the way, On Palestine talks about this. When South Africa, and there's a really cool example of this. My Google search is so stupid here. South Africa fencing man bombed nuclear power plant. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there's this story is quite interesting. So this guy is his name is Rodney Wilkinson, and he bombed a nuclear power plant in South Africa. And the reason he did it was because he was set to be a fencing champion, and he was going to compete at the Olympic Games, but his dreams were crushed by international sanctions. I would have won a medal without a doubt, he said, telling his story over the clattering dishes in a restaurant. So he served in the military in Angola. He said he joined a commune near the Coburg nuclear power station. And so these cultural events, when people treat them like they're just sort of silly, I mean, they're silly in the context of like how Israel views them as like a major victory. But like the truth is that expelling them is a great idea. Like expelling them is a really, really good idea, because if you actually expel them, it will basically lead to like a massive change within Israeli society. Also, I'm really conscious of saying because someone commented on my previous live stream. You said way too much for a 2-hour video. And it's like and I just said again. But it's also like I'm live. I'm thinking about what I'm saying, so I'm not just gonna just spew words out, and it's just funny. Like, I don't need to worry. No, like, I don't need, like, oh, you don't say a lot, but I was just finding that funny. And now I'm just like, it's worked its way into my mind, you know, and I can't escape it. But yeah, I think that there's just this certain element of, like, you can kind of see something happening against the state of Israel by people being expelled. By Israel being expelled, I think it would have a massive effect. Ilan talked about it recently. Ilan Pape, he said so many Israelis care about fucking football, and if you start affecting people's like lives and taking away things that they fucking like, you know, Hassan made this comment and he was like, if Israelis don't get Amazon Prime, they're gonna be sad, and he's fucking right. Like, take away the treats from the Treatlerites and the Treatlerites will rise up, you know? And I think that there's this whole, life is very difficult to bear in the modern era, and they kind of touched on this in the Hassan Bad Empanada discussion. But one of the things about that they were saying was that YouTube, Twitter, social media, all of these things have they basically serve within this wider thing that someone called Mari Ruti in Penis Envy and Other Bad Feelings, which I'd recommend. Thank you, Overzealots. And also, I enjoyed your appearance on Noah Samson. I haven't actually watched most of them because most of it was at night, but yours was just after mine, so obviously it was the daytime for me, and I actually got I got to watch it. But basically, what Mari Ruti talks about in Penis Envy and Other Bad Feelings is that we live in a world where that's really difficult to bear. Like, the extremities of capitalism are quite hard on our lives. And one of the ways that we get through them is through what she calls the entertainment industrial complex. We sit back and, like, turn off and watch some shitty Netflix show. And quite often, by the way, cinema... If you look at cinema in the recent era and, like, all of the shit that's going on in the world... Like, I often don't talk about this, and I probably should because of... what Bad Empanada was saying, which is climate change. We are in a really worrying position with the climate, and the deleterious effects that are going to start happening on the world are pretty important to talk about, and it's not something I talk about much, and I learnt a bit about it. But yeah, Toadburger isn't here to declare how delayed we are. I'm very sorry. But yeah, basically... and we have all these superhero films that are like some savior coming in and all of these things, but we have all of this entertainment and shit that kind of detracts from the world, basically, and takes us out of all of these fucking horrifying things. And start taking that away. Start taking away, like, Israel getting to play football, being normalised in the world, ruining like this entertainment complex for Israelis. Start banning them from fucking no more Israelis on FIFA. Remove all the Israelis from FIFA so they can't use their favourite player of, I don't know, who even is an Israeli player? Yossi Benayoun? Oh yeah, there's also some, I can't remember his name. Hold on, I'll see if I can find this, because it was actually quite interesting. Some Israeli footballer who played in the Premier League was like, which is like England's top division. Turned into like a newscaster. I'll see if I can find this. No, I fucking can't. That's annoying. But basically, there's some former Israeli footballer who turned into like a fucking newscaster who's just horrible. He's an awful character, but yeah. Solomon Rondon. Yeah, I mean, but ban Solomon Rondon from playing for fucking Leeds, and then Israelis will start turning on them. I mean, yeah, and also a lot of the people who were at Exeter, and a lot of people who are engaged in probably one of the most useful anti-Israel movements in the UK, which is like the youth demand, are related to that. Like, they're heavily related to climate change. Wayne Rooney, yeah, Wayne Rooney is a former Israeli football player. He's really, you can really see he's got that Mizrahi Jewish sort of evidence. No, it's not Rondon. It's Solomon. No, not Solomon Rondon. Manor Solomon. Yeah, I did, Connie. I did actually watch it. But yeah, I mean, this is sort of a thing of like banning Israel from Eurovision. I know it's trite, and I don't really want to talk about Eurovision, and I don't care about Israel's dogshit song and how they fucking manipulated the vote, because they were obviously going to do that. Israel's whole fucking thing is just manipulated, you know. Israel's whole thing. Everything about Israel is AstroTurf. The fucking algorithms pick up the crap that they spew. It's spewed... It's spewed by, like, government officials. It's parroted by Western people. It's all fucking AstroTurf. But yeah, I think Israel should just be banned from international sport, because it serves, like, a purpose of denying them, basically, the ability to just do propaganda and be seen as, like, a normal state. Because what Israel does is in no way normal. I mean, I actually wanted to talk about a clip of like... So this is Moshe Feiglin, who used to be the fucking deputy speaker of the Knesset.
כל ילד, כל תינוק בעזה הוא אויב. האויב הוא לא החמאס, והוא גם לא הזרוע הצבאית של החמאס, כמו שהפצ"רית שלנו מספרת לנו שאסור לנו לפגוע בחמאסניק, אלא אם כן הוא חלק מהזרוע הצבאית. כל ילד
By the way, this also just isn't true. Israel has been killing civil defense officials in there, over and over again.
עזה הוא האויב. אנחנו צריכים לכבוש את עזה וליישבה, ושלא יישאר שם ילד עזתי אחד. אין ניצחון.
Like, just listen to these words. Like, just listen to these words. We must not leave a single Gazan child there. There is no other victory. And I just want to point you to... sorry, my nose is itchy. Probably fucking hay fever. I just want to point you to what people were posting today about this, which was just insane to think about. Because this is, by the way, really similar to what the Nazis once said. Like, it's genuinely verbatim what the Nazis said, in fact, except just not Gazan child, Jewish child. Oh, God, he's posted so much today. I thought I'd save this. Hold on. This will just take me a second. Here you go. So this is from the Nuremberg trials. Will you explain to the tribunal what conceivable threat to the security of the Wehrmacht a child constituted in your judgment? The children would grow up, and surely, being the children of parents who had been killed, they would constitute a danger no smaller than that of the parents. That's what a Nazi has to say. Holocaust Museum in Amsterdam. How often have we heard this exact sentiment? So this is from Sana Said. It's still a baby Jew, but a baby Jew turns into a Jew boy and then a full-grown Jew. Lampert Schipper during the arrest of Andrei Ossendreever, aged 2, in 1943. And, like, do you think that this is, like, a normal state? Thank you, Brenner Has, and thank you, Monkey, for joining up. But yeah, it's pretty insane to, like, read about. Like, you hear these things and you hear, like, oh, you know, we're thinking about maybe sanctioning Israel. I think the time to sanction Israel was maybe, you know, decades ago. But, like, also, people bring up someone like Moshe Feiglin. I mean, he used to be the deputy speaker of the Knesset, I must add. But he also said one of the most obscene statements, which is here on this Electronic Intifada article. Concentrate and exterminate. Israel Parliament Deputy Speaker's Gaza genocide plan. This is our country exclusively, including Gaza, Feiglin writes. Concentrate. Tent encampments where the designate certain open areas on the Sinai border adjacent to the sea in which the civilian population will be concentrated, far from the built-up areas that are used for launches and tunneling. In these areas, tent encampments will be established until relevant emigration destinations are determined. By the way, this is just actually like Israel's plan. Like, this is like Israel's plan. This is the deputy speaker of the Knesset saying, hey, we're going to do what Israel does now. And also, by the way, this guy referred to the Kahanis, who are the most extreme, and that's really saying something, the most extreme figures within Israeli society. This guy referred to them as his family, is the exact quote of what he said. And yeah, like, this is also, it's also this funny thing of, by the way, this is like, yeah, Feiglin's not the Prime Minister of Israel. But when you read that in 2014, Moshe Feiglin said, hey, let's concentrate and exterminate the population of Gaza, tent encampments where the Palestinian civilian population will live, would be concentrated, are simply concentration camps. The supply of, literally read these words. I mean, actually, you know what? Reading them now is even more crazy. The supply of electricity and water to the formerly populated areas of Gaza will be discontinued. And then also, by the way, Lonabox recently made a video where he's like, Israel's new plan for Gaza is so bad. This was the plan always. He was just... Feiglin would just avow it. Feiglin would avow it. He was around Netanyahu. He's not like some like weird guy who, you know, had no power. He's the deputy speaker of the Knesset. Could you imagine that the deputy speaker of the British Parliament said, I think all migrants should be concentrated into camps. We exterminate the areas that we see as problematic and then we expel them. Like, it's fucking insane. And this is always the thing, by the way. There is no, like, actual strong resistance in Israel. This is literally, like, decades. And we read Smotrich's decisive plan yesterday, and Smotrich is a more powerful figure than Feilin. I'm not actually sure about Israeli couscous. Doesn't stop German companies from catering Israeli tabbouleh. I mean, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Who's winning the Europa League? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. It's funny mocking Spurs, but at the same time, I don't want either of them to win, really. Hopefully neither. Hopefully it's stripped from both of them and given to Palestine. Yeah. Israelis trying to steal couscous might just unite North Africa, no lie. I mean, there's no uniting them. Bibi Stockholm. I mean, yeah, in a sense, I suppose the Bibi Stockholm is that, but it didn't work, and there was a massive outcry against it. But, like, just read about this. He then calls for literally, read this. Formerly populated areas to be shelled with maximum firepower. The entire civilian military infrastructure of Hamas, its means of communications of logistics, will be entirely destroyed down to their foundations. The Israeli army would then exterminate nests of resistance in the event that any should remain. Israel will start searching for emigration destinations and quotas for the refugees from Gaza, Feiglin writes. Those who insist on staying, if they can be proven to have no affiliation with Hamas, will be required to publicly sign a declaration of loyalty to Israel and receive a blue ID similar to that of the Arabs of East Jerusalem. It's kind of mad to just read that, you know. It's kind of mad. Like, yeah, it's just mad to see that and then see what Israel is doing. I just want to find up, like, a picture of, like, this is literally Israel's plan now. They just have, like, a fucking designated kill zone. Yeah, Palestinians are classed by different identification cards is what he's talking about. What's the NP? Are you talking about the apartheid government? But I mean, I think the truth is that, like, the Israeli government follows a similar logic to that of the Nazis. Like, genuinely. What the Israeli government argues is... the Israeli government lives in a fantasy in the same sense that the Nazis did. The Israeli government says, well, Palestinians are responsible for the degradation of everything. They're responsible. They are anti-Semitic monsters who kill and harm Jews for no reason. They lie. They make up everything. And, yeah, it's sort of this thing of, like... these two basically have the same opinions. These two have the same opinions. They exterminate people on the basis of the idea that the other is responsible for everything wrong with their society. And so is it really that difficult to say they are like the Nazis in the sense of what they do and behave as? No. Is Noah watching me live? Is that true? Is that true? Hello, Noah, if so. I don't know if Noah... Why should I react? What does Noah want me to live react to him to? What does Noah want me to react to? Or do, or say? I mean, thanks, Noah. I don't know what's going on. Hold on, should I look what Noah's doing? That would probably serving all of the problems would just be me doing something rather minor, which is just seeing what Noah Sampson is up to. Oh, Noah is watching me. Shout out Noah. Noah, why are you watching? Is that true? Hello, Noah, if so. I don't know if Noah... Why should I react? What does Noah want me to... Okay, awesome. Noah, I had a great time on your stream the other day, and I hope the VOD's up soon, so anyone who can watch it missed it. There is a link somewhere, but it's worth watching, I think. I think we had a good discussion. And as I said, the Hassan and Bad Empanada one is great as well. What is your take on the UK stating they will stop aiding Israel? Right. I mean, my take on what the UK doing is pretty difficult, because I want to sit here and you get this information of saying hey, this is a major change. This is really what you wow, the UK's doing something. But is the UK really doing something? I mean, no. The Spanish government saying Israel should be expelled from Eurovision, as I said in my fucking TikTok, is much bigger. It's genuinely much bigger. Saying Israel should be culturally boycotted is a much more important thing than saying we're going to suspend future discussions on aid with Israel. I mean, we can actually watch this because this is some stuff I wanted to talk about. Or we could read the statement. Hold on. Actually, you know what? Maybe we'll just look at this. So basically, this is basically what happened today. So the UK government has sanctioned 8 entities or something. So Harold David Libby is probably the better of the two, out of the two to be sanctioned. Yeah. Thank you, Noah. But yeah, so also, by the way, if you don't think that Louis Theroux and shit like that has an impact, it's kind of fucking mad. The Louis Theroux documentary arguably got Daniela Weiss sanctioned, but also look at the fucking weird names of these things. Coco's Farm Outpost, Group ID, Nera's Farm Outposts. Who are these people? And it's basically just you can't have any economic relations with them. No Eurovision. I don't think any fans want them to say Lisa. I think the truth is that Eurovision is manipulated. Oh, and by the way, I did actually see this. I don't know if any of you saw this. Joost Klein, who probably gave one of the best things that I've seen on Palestine, which was, saying to, from an artist, was saying, why doesn't what's-her-name have to talk about it? I didn't even notice this, but Joost Klein uploaded a video this year. Look at what he's wearing on his head. I probably won't play Europapa because it's probably not allowed. It's probably not allowed. But yeah, where can I watch the Louis documentary? I don't actually know if you're not in the UK, so it's on BBC in the UK. There was actually something I wanted to watch from it, just a short clip. Nothing, but I like how she just randomly adds in, oh, we should dispace them to... He's also telling the truth here. This is also the most extreme Zionist in history is Meir Kahane. Probably. I genuinely think he is in terms of, the movement that he spawned. But I don't think he's some kind of outlier. But what Meir Kahane used to say is, I only say what you are all thinking. And Meir Kahane's basic argument was that everywhere else in the world should be a democracy. But the thing is that where shouldn't be a democracy is the state of Israel, because Israel is a Jewish state. And if you have a Jewish state, and by the way, Ethan Klein made this argument, if you had a Jewish state that welcomed large numbers of Palestinians, if that were to happen, it would lead to the destruction of the state of Israel. And so basically, it's not surprising. Kahana is not saying something that is out of the ordinary or out of line with what Zionism actually is. Like, this is what the early Zionists would have admitted. And so Daniela Weiss is an example of this kind of open avowal of what it actually is, you know? And by the way, as well, Arthur Balfour. This is what the British thought about Palestinians. Whenever someone fucking talks to you about, like, oh, what happened in Palestine and all of this shit, right? Whenever someone talks about this, bear this in mind. Zionism, be it right or wrong, good or bad, is rooted in age-long traditions, in present needs and future hopes are far profounder than the desires and prejudices of 700,000 Arabs who now inhabit that ancient land. Like, it's not new. She's not some outlier. She's not like some outlier. This is like just avowing what Zionism is. 1922. Like, shit. This is what Arthur Balfour thought. This is what all of these people thought. It's not like some new mad thing. They didn't care about the Palestinians who inhabited there. The point of Zionism was to establish a Jewish state that didn't have a place for the Palestinians. If you want to watch like a really succinct thing, and I really think I should retitle my Lonerbox video, because Lonerbox is very stupid, but he's not Israel's stupidest propagandist. You know, that title belongs to many other people. But I think that the thing is that it's actually a really good explanation of settler colonialism and how, like, they basically had no space for the Palestinians. And so she is just talking about, like, finalizing the elimination. And the problem for the modern era is basically, one, there are checks and balances to some extent which have prevented Israel for a while from doing humongous expulsions, and they've had to go through a more slow process. And so that's what kind of differentiates it from previous expressions of settler colonialism. But, you know, they are moving towards this now because they are clearly aware that they're able to do this. Oh yeah, there's another fucking crazy Jewish Jess video that I want to pull up later.
Two different nations. Different.
I just wonder whether you feel or you're...
Oh, and by the way, they had no space for the natives in America because they propose an alternative to society to that of the settlers. The settlers come and they say, well, you know, we're fucking Europeans, you know, and so yeah, the Great Replacement. I mean, I don't know if he made the Great Replacement argument. It's fucking true. It's true, by the way. But all I say is that Palestinians inhabited that land. Settlers were brought over, and through a specific process, were brought over with the idea of basically building a state that was going to be dominated by Jewish people. It is true that if the Palestinians go back and return, they will vote Israel out of existence. But who cares? That's right. That's moral. That's just. It's Palestinians' land. It's their homeland. Yes, Jewish people existed there. But ultimately, this was a project at expelling Palestinians. And basically, what you're talking about with this whole Africa thing is, the Zionists first proposed to go to Uganda at a certain point. Well, it wasn't first, but they proposed to go to Uganda, and this upset some of the Zionist movement, and it probably never would have worked. But they view it's because it's a colonial movement which viewed the indigenous people as basically having no right to their land, basically.
We're aware that...
The conversion of Palestinians to Judaism is something that I will not talk about in specifics, but no, they can't convert to Judaism. And also, converting to Judaism is also something that's quite difficult in the sense of it's not a proselytizing religion, so converting to Judaism is a very long process. But even if I think a Palestinian does it, I don't think they can. Proposed Argentina. I mean, Zionism was so intertwined with other colonial movements. It's not that just Cecil Rhodes wrote, oh, this will be something colonial. It's that they saw the scramble for Africa when... And by the way, you want to know one of the funny and mad things about the scramble for Africa is that with the scramble for Africa, one of the reasons that they said, oh, we should scramble for one of the reasons that we should scramble for Africa is because there's so much slavery there and we need to get rid of it. And then they did the Belgians did their mad part of the documentary, you know. Honestly, it's fucking mental that she just sort of gets up and shoves. And by the way, someone said that they feared that the tribes were too fierce in Uganda. Always bear in mind that in Palestine, Israel was only able to win because the British allowed them to establish parastate institutions and basically build a state there. It's not like some process that happened through them being amazing. The Palestinians crushed resistance alongside... the British crushed Palestinian resistance institutions. The first one was basically... The first main parastate institution was... it was this thing called the Zionist Commission, which was basically brought over to constitute like an embassy there. And it just wasn't that. It was kind of a government. I am on X, by the way, so you can find me on X. It's just my name, Chris Kunzler. But yeah, like, I mean, listening to what she says here, this has always been the case. Settlers always... Infringing upon other people's land is a violent thing to do. Going and existing within it is violent. Imposing roads and all of these structures is violent. And it basically ruins Palestinian lives. So even if Palestinians push them first, they wouldn't be, you know. And also, sorry, on the topic of parastate institutions, basically the British allowed like a ton of different things. So the most important figure, really, who's kind of indicative of it from the start, is Herbert Samuel. Herbert Samuel was the first High Commissioner of Palestine? Yeah, he was. So this is the first ever High Commissioner. This guy was literally just an avowed Zionist. He did loads of things for the Zionist project. And Zionists were basically allowed to do things that the Palestinians weren't, is the key thing. They're like, and also, they were allowed to establish like political parties when there was no real equivalent for the Palestinians. Why do I say X? Because someone asked. It's also just quite like a good explanation of Zionism. You know? They didn't think about the Palestinians. I mean, I will pull you back to the Lord Balfour quote. When I say that Daniela Weiss is not some outlier, like, just read this again. He literally says that the Arabs don't matter. They didn't think about the Palestinians because they thought they had no right to be there in the same way that she does. She's not some mad, crazy outlier, you know?
Your own people or your own children first, but to think about other people, other children, not at...
But the problem is right, you can say that she's too extreme for Israelis, right? You can say that this woman is too extreme, that she's not like general Israelis. Okay, why don't they sanction her? Why don't they stop the settlements? Why is it pretty much across the Israeli political spectrum? I don't know about Yair Golan. Hold on. We'll find out. Look at this. So, Golan supports a two-state solution based on land swaps and keeping most of the settlement blocks. Like, there you go. That's Yair Golan, who's the guy who's recently saying that Israel's favourite pastime is, like, murdering kids. The truth is the settler movement changed facts on the ground in Palestine. They are the ones who pushed a two-state solution further away. The idea that they are some like weird outlier, they have served the Zionist project's purpose. They are the ones who went in and took land. This is what Patrick Wolf writes about in settler colonialism and the logic of elimination. Settler colonies have always had this like violent rabble who go out and take land, and then, you know, once they're done with that, the state washes its hands of like the worst excessive violence. They wash their hands of it, but it's already done. The Palestinians are dispossessed, you know?
All? That seems sociopathic.
That's probably my highlight of the document.
I hope you...
Oh, that's it. She does say it, Michael Olaf. She does say that. You're completely correct, yes. I think that this was the point of the video I sort of made about this. That it's kind of talking about the difference of it. Yeah, I will actually talk about, this at some point. So I have like quite a few videos planned. I'm away this weekend, so I'm going to try and get a shorter video about the acceleration of the Gaza genocide. out this week. I'm going to try and record it over the next 2-3 days. And then once I'm done with that, when I'm back, I'm hopefully going to make a whole video about the British mandate and all of these things. Hila Klein's granny. No. This is more a cousin of Hila Klein. You know, someone who you can't, maybe a second cousin. It's someone that you can't avow and you say, oh, they're a bit weird and a bit freaky, you know. But the truth is they're serving the Israeli project. If you support Zionism, what the hell do you think you're supporting? Zionists have never shown an interest in giving Palestinians a full state. You know, and this has always been what's ended up happening. More settlement.
Push me back.
Like, look how gleeful she is about all of this. I'm just trying to find... I'll just show you what Kahana said.
My answer, to transfer the Arabs out of this country.
By force?
Hopefully through compensation and their willingness to leave.
If compensation doesn't work and they're not willing?
Through force. The same kind of force that the Poles and the Czechs used against the ethnic Germans in 1945, when after having suffered at the hands of a fifth column, which brought in Hitler, they decided in their own way, never again.
By the way, this guy's also objectively worse than Daniela Weiss.
Can you believe that would be the final solution to the Palestinian problem?
I'm not talking about final solutions. I'm talking about a problem that has to be solved. If they're in this country, they will vote the Jews out of a state.
He's just speaking the truth. Like, this guy, he always said, I only say what you all want me to say. Ethnic Germans isn't a dog whistle. What he's talking about is after the Second World War, loads of Germans were kind of removed from the countries that they'd occupied. I mean, rightly so. A lot of them died, and, you know, it's not exactly the greatest thing, all of them dying, but, you know, at the same time, you know, they were not exactly people treating people very well, you know, at all. But yeah, just
outside of the country.
But yeah. It's much more an inversion of the comparison. Which Arabic accent is that? This isn't an Arabic accent. That's a Brooklyn accent mixed with a bit of Hebrew.
Hate us from the outside, and I'd rather have a distant hating neighbor than a close one.
Yeah, this is always what Kahana said. He said, Kahana would always say, I only say what you all are thinking. Yeah, he's American. So this is... I'll make a video about this guy as well. This guy is like... He's probably the most important figure in Israel. Listen to the words that come out of his mouth and look at Israel today.
I'm facing an enemy in Israel who wants to liquidate my state. What do you want me to do? To meet people who started 4 wars with me with flowers? That's not the Bible. It's not the Talmud, and more than that, it isn't even normal.
Sorry, that was like it's mad. Arab News are not doing well there. They just gave us like a 1-second clip. There's one I really want to find. If you want to actually, you know what? This video barely has any views, but we can actually watch this, and I'll respond to it. Just give me a second. I'm not going to give you a chair react to the video because I really need to go pee. But yeah, I'll be back very shortly. Guys, I won't even wash my hands. That's how crazy I am. I'm joking. I will wash my hands. I swear. I'm muted, and you're all going to fucking start telling me.
Dominant personality in the Messianic camp in Israeli history, the founding father, you could say, of the Israeli Messianist camp is Meir Kahane, an American-born rabbi, came up here in New York, and...
yeah, I did wash my hands, don't you worry, don't you worry.
It's not difficult to understand what his ideology is. You can just read his magnum opus, The Jewish Idea. It's a bit long, so you might want to just go for one of the other books he wrote.
Yeah, this guy literally just wrote a book called They Must Go. That's literally all it was called.
They must go. There's not really, mincing his words here. He's just saying straight up, they must go. Straight up ethnic cleansing. But beyond that, here's just a couple of choice quotes so you can get a sense of the ideology that that his followers imbibed from him. When I'm prime minister, no Arab will be hurt by Jewish terrorism because there won't be an Arab left in Israel. Here's another ditty. I want to remove the Arabs from Israel because I do not want to kill them every week.
Like, honestly, do you really think that this is that difference from Kahane to, like, Netanyahu and a lot of Israelis who are like, we just want peace, but we're okay with expelling Palestinians from Gaza? Look, the truth is that what begins with Gaza will just go on and on and on. It won't end there. As I tweeted today, the Germans, and I want to find evidence of this, but Todd McGowan talks about it a lot. Todd McGowan talks about it on the Y Theory podcast, and he's pretty good on Nazism, actually, surprisingly. It's not his area of expertise. But he talks a lot about how the Germans got more anti-Semitic as the Holocaust, their extermination and expulsion went on and on and on. Israelis, if they are actually to get Palestinians expelled from Gaza, will get more hateful and racist towards Palestinians. They will expel more Palestinians from the West Bank. They will expel more from Israel proper until there is no one left. They're not going to get less racist. Israel needs to be stopped now in a very serious way.
Or how about this one? They will come to me, bow to me, lick my feet, and I will be merciful and will allow them to leave. Whoever does not leave will be slaughtered.
It's really interesting to, read a guy who did very well in the Israeli elections. Well, he won 1% in the first election and then was projected to win between 2 and 7 in 1988, and his popularity was only increasing. And then he got smoked by an Egyptian and also banned from Israel's election. Yeah, thank you for putting David Sheen's full lecture.
Okay, there's no bones about it. This is where we're at. Now, admittedly, when Kahane, and of course, he now has legions of followers. People took to his vision. Now, the thing about Kahane and Kahanism is it's most dangerous dafka when there's a chance for peace. Exactly when maybe Israel will steer off the path of permanent apartheid, that's when they're most dangerous. When there's a thought that maybe they won't continue, it's the right word, lurch to the right, that's when they pull out the big guns. And we see this consistently time and time again in the late 70s, 1980s, when Egypt and Israel buried the hatchet, made a peace deal between Anwar Sadat and Menachem Begin.
I don't know what you mean demonic. If you're talking about Jewish people generally, then that's a problematic comment. But if you're talking about Israelis, I mean, like the behavior of someone like Kahane is, I don't think there's much distance between Kahane and Adolf Hitler.
That's when the Kahanists implemented their plan, and they
yeah, David Sheen's research on the Israeli far right is very good.
Plotted to blow up the Dome of the Rock.
Yeah, so Kahane, if you want to see how funny a concept terrorism in Israel really is, Kahane made a plan and tried to implement it to blow up the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and he got detained for 6 weeks. 6 months, and it was one of the first times. I don't know what you're saying. Es gab mehrere Fälle, Plakaten. I don't know what that actually means. I'm sorry, my German is not good enough at the moment.
Haram al-Sharif in the old city of Jerusalem, the most beautiful building in Palestine, one of the most important Muslim shrines in the country and in the world. So Kahane sat in jail for 6 months for plotting to blow it up, And the hope was that by destroying it, this would cause a religious war between Jews and a billion Muslims all over the world, and there would be no more chance for peace, and that would be it, back to permanent war. And this is like a pattern that they repeated again and again. Now, if you can imagine, after this, after he plotted and sat in jail for...
You know, also when people make out that Israel like went down like a really bad path, the truth is that this is David Sheen, who's a reporter from the Electronic Intifada. So this guy lives in Haifa in 48 Palestine, and he's pretty good on the Israeli far right.
Wanting to blow up the Dome of the Rock.
I didn't even know that. Bezuglich.
He was then elected to the Knesset. Now, when he was elected to the Knesset, we found something interesting. At that point, Israeli society was still not comfortable with Kahana, in the main. And so when he would come up and speak in front of the assembly, members of the ruling party would walk out. Even the right-wing Likud party, its members would walk out of the Knesset plenum because they just couldn't countenance his open, unabashed racism. It was just too much for them. That's where Israeli society was in the 1980s. And eventually, he was turfed out of the Knesset. The Knesset passed a law that said a party that espouses racism as part of its ideology cannot stand for election. And so he...
By the way, as I've mentioned before, this guy was compared literally to Adolf Hitler. Like, by other members of the Israeli Knesset as well. They said that this guy was like Adolf Hitler. He proposed a bill that would have separated instantaneously Jewish and Arab marriages, anyone who had intermarried. They would have segregated beaches. Palestinians would no longer have citizenship inside 48 Israel. The only difference, right, between Kahana and most Zionists at the time was that he didn't openly discuss transfer of Palestinians from the West Bank and Gaza. What he actually talked about was expelling all Palestinians, which I just think is the point that Israel reaches, by the way.
He was no longer able to run for the Knesset, but of course, as I said, he had legions of followers.
So do you know who this is? This guy here is Baruch Goldstein, the guy who massacred 29 worshippers at the Cave of the Patriarchs, the Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron, in 1994, and he was third in line to be elected alongside Kahana.
Soon afterwards, one of those followers from his party, Baruch Goldstein, as you may know, again with the same idea of trying to prevent...
This is the guy that when Lonabox was talking to someone about, and the guy went, "Oh, he's a doctor," you know, when he meant he's a doctor, but yeah. He's a doctor, but Lonabox really didn't push back and say, "Hey, the guy murdered so many." And the guy was just like, "We condemn Dr. Goldstein."
Any possibility of peace when in the early 1990s you had the Oslo peace process for good and bad. We can talk about that later, but at least it was an attempt to try to end decades of war and ethnic cleansing between,
Noah should invite me on over and over again, and he should have no one else on his stream, and that should just be it. It should just be my stream, and I will take over.
Fierce hatred between Israelis and Palestinians. So when this happened, when there was a possibility of peace, that's when Baruch...
Also, once again, you know that video of when Daniela Weiss pushed... she pushed, what's his name? Louis through. The thing is that Hamas had never, ever done a suicide bombing inside 48 Palestine. Not a thing. It had never, ever happened before. There had never been a suicide bombing inside, carried out by Hamas until Israel, until this happened. But yeah, you keep asking about this Zionist org Unpacked. I don't know what it is. Didn't go for doctor school to be called Mr. Yeah, and also, I don't know why you just didn't use his full name. Just search up the real reason the world sides against Israel. I've never heard of this, the real reason.
Goldstein and the Kahanas stepped up, and Goldstein went into, again, one of the most important places for Jews and for Muslims, the holy shrine in Halil, in Hebron, and at this, the Cave of the Patriarchs, he came in and he massacred the biggest mass murder in Israeli history. He murdered 29 Palestinians and injured over 100, wounded over 100. Now, Goldstein was just one Kahanist killer. There's been dozens of Kahanist killers, over 20 at least. He had the biggest death count, but many have have that record. But what was most powerful about Goldstein's massacre, not only did he have the highest death toll, but he succeeded in killing Oslo, because 40 days after this horrific massacre, exactly 40 days, which is the Muslim mourning
I have talked about Lineker. Sorry, it was on the previous stream though.
Period, Arba'in. Exactly 40 days later, that's when Hamas began for the first time.
Yeah. David Sheen talks about it here.
It's a suicide bombing campaign in 48 Israel. Exactly 40 days later. And that, of course...
Ben-Gvir had two pictures, one of Kahana and one of Baruch Goldstein in his house. Ben-Gvir loves both of them. He dressed up as Baruch Goldstein for his Purim, for like a Jewish holiday.
For Israelis, that was the end of it. They wouldn't imagine the possibility of peace after these...
So, in a sense, it's interesting, but I think Israelis were long done with the concept of peace, long before that happened. I mean, what is this? This video is 13 minutes. Wait.
Jews have always been David to the world's Goliath. Tiny, vulnerable, and armed with little more than faith and a slingshot. And then we built a state, and the...
Also, by the way, within 1 minute, this is literally like a classic Zionist talking point. Also, GDF, I'll have a look at... I've seen them before. I've seen them before.
Story got a lot more complicated.
Yeah, he took down the picture of Goldstein because he needed to appeal to a wider amount of voters. And by the way, this is by the way, a myth that persisted at the start of Israel, and it's just not true. Like, it's just not true.
For a couple of decades, tiny Israel seemed like David facing off against armies of Goliaths. But today, the Jewish state has a formidable army and powerful ally.
The Jewish state is backed unequivocally by America and is allowed to continually violate international law with no support. With no condemnation.
Traded our metaphorical slingshot for much heavier weapons. In other words, we finally have some power. For much of the world, that power and our tense relationship with...
I think I should probably moderate my YouTube comments. I don't moderate my TikTok comments because I stopped just reading them a long time ago because there's too many of them. I just block people who are like open supporters of Germany, and I ban the word Austrian painter in my chat and things like that. And I hope that TikTok censorship does the rest.
With our neighbors is enough to recast us as the villains.
Darth Vader. No, they're far more evil than what's his name.
But zoom out, and we're still a teeny tiny minority in a tough neighborhood with a number of very angry enemies. So is Israel still the David, or have we become Goliath?
I'm not
These
watching
days,
this at 1%
it's fashionable
speed.
to side with the underdog. The triumph of the weak over the mighty just makes for a better story, and it makes us feel good about ourselves.
Honestly, people side with Palestine because it's the triumph of the weak. What? It's just slop.
But being a David isn't all triumph and glory. The OG David may have beat Goliath quickly.
Yeah, you're right. He has got a millennial-ass outfit.
Without any injury to himself. The Jewish people haven't been as lucky. Sure, we've persevered despite the odds. We've even thrived. But you don't spend millennia being battered around by history without racking up a few scars. As Jews, the past is never far from our minds. Even before Israel existed, the Jews who would become Israelis were on guard against the worst-case scenario. After all, Israel is a nation of refugees. Half of the soldiers in the newly minted IDF were Holocaust survivors who had escaped the Nazi inferno only to be plunged headfirst into an existential struggle.
Because they were brought over to take other people's land. Like, this idea that they were just in an existential struggle for no reason. And by the way, why couldn't Holocaust survivors go over to America? Like, this is always the point that people fucking talk about. Why could they not go to America? Because America didn't want to take Jewish people.
One day after David Ben-Gurion spoke Israel into being, 5 Arab armies invaded, and Israelis faced a stark choice. Fight them off, or be wiped off the map. To paraphrase Cersei Lannister.
And also, by the way, even at this point, it's just not true. This is literally, when I was at school, we used to learn about this over and over again. The reason that Israel was, like, able to defeat these people is because The Palestinians were, first of all, destroyed. They were not given the same chance under the British mandate as the Jewish people were, and national resistance was basically targeted predominantly in 1936 to 39. And first 3 seconds told you to stop. I mean, I agree with you here. But yeah, and also the Arab armies were all incredibly disorganized. Many of them were still under colonial power. The Jordanians, who were the best trained, did a deal with Israel. So yeah.
In the Middle East, you win or you die. The Jewish state won that first war.
Is this video even worth watching? I mean, I guess I'll watch on a little bit. It's kind of just maybe worth debunking some of these talking points.
But we weren't out of the woods quite yet. Israel's neighbors operated on the motto, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
هنحارب من أجل استرداد أراضينا. وحينما أقول أراضينا لا نقصد أبدا هنا في مصر، ولكن نقصد كل الأراضي العربية المحتلة، القدس أولا، الضفة الغربية، الجولان، غزة، كل الأراضي العربية.
Israelis had every reason to take him seriously. Collective trauma doesn't disappear so quickly. It lingers like an unwelcome house guest, flashing nightmare reels before our eyes. But if there's a silver lining to our bloody past...
More of an issue for me than now. When I stand against genocide. Yeah, I mean, I understand for many Jewish people, they've kind of suffered in many ways, because it's difficult with your family. It's difficult with your family and stuff and your relationships, and also the treatment from pro-Israel advocates. No, they're rejecting NASA for...
It's this. Vulnerability is an excellent motivator. There is...
Also, by the way, all of these things were provoked. Like, the Hebron massacre was not just random targeting of Jewish people. It's because people went to Palestine and settled Palestinian land.
No ferocity quite like the ferocity of the cornered and desperate.
When I first went to Israel back in '73, I met with Golda Meir. I said, you just spent the last hour telling me, in effect, you have...
Guys, everyone's got to pay their respects now.
No chance. She said, one thing I didn't tell you. We Jews have a secret weapon. We have no place else to go.
Palestinians were divided, and the British used the classic tactic of divide and rule. So everyone probably knows who the Mufti is, Haj Amin al-Husseini. But the thing is that Haj Amin al-Husseini and the Husseini family more generally were played off against the Nashashibi family by the British.
Sounds like a pretty lousy secret weapon, but Israelis use it well. Because it was that desperation and vulnerability that forced us to find creative answers to our most intractable threats. Like the Iron Dome system, which intercepts and neutralizes...
What a creative system! We were given billions and billions of dollars by the world so we could build advanced weaponry so we could go and kill innocent people with it.
Missiles and rockets. Or the targeted and often unconventional elimination of our enemies, which establishes deterrence. Or the...
Unconventional elimination. Humongous bombardment campaign only possible because you are given these weapons.
Nuclear weapons that remain the worst kept secret in the Middle East.
NASA was called Hitler on the Nile. And also, by the way, the Israelis engaged in a false flag operation with the British and the French in the Suez Canal, where they launched a false invasion of it so they could basically take control over more of the Sinai and get rid of NASA because he was a threat to Israel. So it's not like they're just some peace lovers.
Yes. Israel has nuclear weapons.
This video was published pretty recently. Also, quite a big admission just saying Israel has nuclear weapons.
Back pocket contingency plan for the moment that all hell breaks loose. And if history has taught us anything, it's that all hell will break loose eventually. We have a long memory for that kind of thing. So while it's true that we've come a long way from David and his slingshot, we're never going to see ourselves as Goliath. Because we remember, viscerally, exactly what it felt like to confront an enemy much...
I don't even know enough about the story of David and Goliath. I know the basic premise, but is David morally good and Goliath morally bad? Because I think that Israel would very much be Goliath if that is the case.
Bigger and stronger than us. And we remember what it felt like to be crushed. Again and again and again.
Damascus blood libel.
And so the Jewish state has done everything it can to build up its military power. To ensure that never again isn't just an empty slogan, but a reminder. A collective responsibility for all of us to shoulder.
Israel has brought this all together so it can do genocide against the Palestinians, so they can make never again, so they can do the never again, they can do the again.
Of David's of walking forward into as
this guy's a fucking idiot. I've seen him loads recently.
The champion into the encounter with Goliath is an astonishing, ridiculous act. It's an act of sacrifice and it's an act of willingness that you see in this generation of Israelis. Hezbollah built out traps in South Lebanon at a colossal strategic scale, and they had trained for a generation to do nothing but ensure that a lot of Israeli soldiers die if the Israeli soldiers ever attempt to take out Hezbollah. And there were very clever solutions to that, right? From the pager operation to Air Force strikes that hit exactly the right places and the right people. But
it's also just not true, by the way. All of these people who say, like, yeah, Israel did... there's a really good example of this. There's a really good example of this. This just wasn't true. Here you go. You can read the full article. I've mentioned it here. IDF bombed apartments, said bombed apartments were Hezbollah base, but most killed were civilians. Wait, why should I smile? Sorry, why are you saying smile?
The soldiers, the ground forces.
Yeah, I mean, the pager attack is not necessarily like this awesome, clever thing, but to these people, it's just amazing. To people like this,
the ordinary infantry were still just willing to go walk in to the.
My time is coming. Okay, great, Mr. Rom. What time is coming?
Those villages, to those tunnels that had spent 30 years being built out, armed, and prepared specifically for that moment. And so I think that Israelis understand themselves as a David that will consistently win, because we face a type of enemy that keeps coming at us in ways that are self-destructive.
To the outside world, this sacrifice isn't noble, but a symptom of the way our power has corrupted us, particularly when it comes to our fraught relationship with Palestinians. After all, Palestinians don't have a regular army, just a handful of forces with no hope of success on a conventional battlefield. They don't have a competent government that can protect them. They don't even have bomb shelters.
They don't have a competent government that can protect them. The competent government that they have that can protect them is literally just a government that Israel established and works for Israel.
That's not to say that Palestinians can't threaten Israel. Every rocket, every stabbing, every abduction is a tangible and constant threat. But it's never going to be an even playing field. And so, from the outside, Israel, with its tanks and its smart bombs and even its nuclear weapons, starts to resemble Goliath, a big, bad bully, corrupted by power. Until you take a closer look, until you realize that the story of David and Goliath isn't quite as straightforward as it seems. It's not merely a tale of the small against the great, the weak against the mighty. This isn't Remember the Titans or even 300. The lessons go a lot deeper than that. Small and great, weak and mighty are a matter of perspective. From the outside, David looked small.
I feel like this is just a really stupid video trying to invert like a very stupid bit of Israeli history to like promote a myth that was largely debunked generations ago.
And so his triumph seemed like a win for the little guy. But the Hebrew Bible isn't particularly interested in the distinction between the big guy or the little guy. David didn't see himself as weak. The shepherd boy from the tribe of Judah was used to fighting off lions and bears to protect his flock. His weapons were simple, but he had the training.
Oh shit! He was fighting off lions and bears. He wasn't just killing Palestinian children regularly and doing apartheid, though.
And experience necessary to use them well. More importantly, he had the power of his conviction.
I mean, yeah, it is like Marvel and Star Wars. They've literally used these references.
His heart burned with righteous fury, with faith in God. He didn't see himself as the underdog at all. He saw himself as a vessel, an instrument of a divine force no human can comprehend. And that's why he wins against Goliath. Not because he's smaller, not because he's great with a slingshot, but because he is right. At its root, this isn't really a story about the small against the mighty. It's a story of two competing moral systems, between the Jewish worldview and that of the Philistines. The Philistines were idolaters, whose universe was ruled by multiple competing...
This is quite a weird video now.
...gods. But these gods were a whole lot like humans, more interested in playing power games than in justice or truth. And so the Philistines had no concept of absolute justice. Just losers and winners, weakness and might. Only the strong survive in such a world, not because they are righteous, but because they are mighty. And then the Jewish people came along with their outlandish concept of ethical monotheism and turned this worldview on its head. Because to be a monotheist in a world of idolaters is to say that there is an
I've kind of lost like what the actual point of this video is now.
Absolute truth. Might doesn't make right, but the other way around. It's right that makes might. Righteous people will win the day, no matter their power, no matter their size.
I mean, sadly, this story is just not true, and if anything, history has told us that entirely. Like, the colonizers predominantly just won a lot of the time, really, in a lot of horrifying contexts, and did atrocious things, you know.
That's why David wins. That's why Goliath loses. Not because of their power or their size, but because of the righteousness of their respective causes.
Also, just what is righteous about going and dispossessing indigenous people? Like, you can dress it up however you want, but there is nothing righteous about taking from the indigenous people and dispossessing them.
We no longer live in a world of Bronze Age idolaters, but moral relativism is alive and well. In some circles today, absolute truths are unfashionable. Everything is context dependent.
Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment, yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context. It is a context
context-dependent decision.
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context.
No, they can't. It's just bullshit. Hold on, I just wanted to pull this up as well. Does this really sound like what the righteous do? Because this is, by the way, Yitzhak Epstein, who is describing the founding of a settlement in the 1880s. Indeed, we shall not let them... Actually, I don't want to read this, but I mean, you can if you want. It's not because I want to deny it. It's just the important part is here. It's basically just saying, we won't let them go with nothing in their hands. Whence will the castaway turn with only a few coins to his name? To this day, the lament still rings in my ears, the weeping of the Arab women on the day their families left the village of Jaouni, which is Rosh Pinah, to go to settle in the Hauran, which lies beyond the Jordan River to the east. The men rode the donkeys and the women followed them, walking and weeping, and the entire valley reverberated with their moans from time to time. They would stop and kiss the rocks. And there's also another one, which is... Of 25 years of my colonizing work, I have dispossessed many Arabs. This is written in 1919, by the way. This wasn't like some great experience for Palestinians.
When calling for the elimination of the Jewish people.
And that's why crowds of American college students cheered on the Houthis.
Yeah, Israel's doing genocide, so fucking the Houthis turning ships around is a good thing. It's a morally good thing. Might does not make right, as their crap said.
Or Hamas, or Hezbollah. Not because these groups are right about anything, but...
I also love that they say, like, Hamas or Hezbollah, but they actually can't really provide massive amounts of videos of college students actually doing that, more just conjecture.
Because in a fight against Israel, they have less power. After all, power corrupts. And since the Jewish state is more powerful than these non-state actors, well, Israel must be wrong, and these radical Islamists must be right. But in the story...
What about the sort of radical Jewish... faith enjoyers, these radical Jewish supremacists like Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, Moshe Feiglin, Netanyahu, all of these people who implement it on the ground, you know?
Of David, the Hebrew Bible doesn't automatically conflate weakness with moral superiority. The underdog doesn't have moral authority simply because he is the underdog. David wins because he has God on his side, because he's fighting for a specific moral system. And that's why David remains a hero, albeit a flawed one, as he grows from being a simple shepherd to a king. From a boy with a slingshot to the commander who conquered Jerusalem. Most of the time, he wore his power easily, but even the mighty King David made mistakes, wielded his power incorrectly, hurting others in the process. And when he does, the Hebrew Bible calls him out on it, unflinchingly, in the exact same way that modern Israelis confront their country's power.
I am surprised by the fact that young Israelis are still very much...
Also, what have Israelis ever done to confront, like, the dispossession and all of these things that happen to Palestinians? It's just dog shit, isn't it?
Uncomfortable with power.
Was the actor bronzed up? I'm not sure, bro, but I'm bricked up right now after seeing that actor.
I think we very much want...
Wait, it wasn't like a youth or anything, was it? I just wanted to make a joke. I've kind of forgotten what he looked like. I was looking at Al Jazeera, I swear.
To be moral. I think we very much feel uncomfortable with anyone who we turn into a victim. There's a lot of self-berating language going on, hesitation, concern about our policies, and at the same time understanding that we have to defend ourselves. And I think that surprised me because I expected that the younger generation in Israel would be more Goliath at this point.
Israelis don't want power. Israelis want us to feel safe.
Israelis don't want power. They've literally just been expelling the indigenous people for generations and dispossessing them. This is just ridiculous.
Israel's great purpose in the world is to be a safe place in which ordinary people can live happy lives. Israel doesn't seek power. Israel seeks safety. Israel seeks...
Like, what does this mean? Israel doesn't seek power. Like, what do these words actually mean, you know? What do these words actually mean? Like, oh, Israel doesn't seek power.
Ordinariness. And when it has safety and ordinariness, it shrinks back down to size. And that contrast...
But safety and ordinariness is basically... is dependent on the expulsion and marginalization of the indigenous Palestinians and the destruction of their society. This guy's just a fucking idiot who's wearing a flat cap.
With our enemies.
The state of Israel doesn't fight for funsies. It fights for survival.
No, it fights to maintain a system of Jewish supremacy in the land of Palestine. That's what Israel actually fights for, and the dispossession of indigenous people.
It fights for its people's safety. Our worst enemies are not ordinary Palestinians or Lebanese. Our enemies are the Islamist regimes and ideologies that have strangled the Middle East, convincing ordinary people that they will not be free until the Jewish state is destroyed. That ideology...
But, like, this video doesn't even mention apartheid, settler colonialism, any of these things. It's just like, no, it's not true because book.
It's toxic. It is all... also doomed.
I don't agree with every decision of the Israeli government, and I don't expect the military to always make the right decision in every battle.
Yeah, I don't agree with every decision. It's just, when they starve 2 million people.
Obviously. But because it's a democracy, I know that at the fundamental level...
It's a very flawed democracy at best, is probably the most sympathetic interpretation of Israel.
My kids are taking part in a larger circle of protecting each other, as opposed to dying for the sake of somebody else's grand, weird ideological vision of whatever they are.
Arguably, they're all dying for a weird ideological vision of a Jewish ethno-state in Palestine that has no place for the indigenous people who existed within it.
Israel, like all states, is flawed. It has significant power, and it's sometimes misused.
He's right, all states are flawed, but, starving 2 million people, I don't think there's really much explanation for this. And this video was released during that, by the way.
Uses that power. We're not always the moral authority. That's an unhappy truth that we face every day. But we try our best to maintain our moral clarity, no matter how challenging the circumstances. We try to discipline our soldiers who abuse their power. Unlike our enemies, we don't target civilians.
Also, they don't really hold their soldiers to account. It's just sort of saying anything.
We make an effort to evacuate them from the areas where we operate. We even provide...
Oh, we're destroying all your family homes,
life-saving medical care to people like Yahya Sinwar. So I have to disagree, respectfully, with Golda Meir. Our secret superpower isn't our desperation, or our trauma, or our vulnerability. It's not the fact that we have nowhere else to go. That's all true, of course, but it's not the whole truth. The whole truth is this. The sole truth is this. The source of our power is our true, of course, but it's not the whole truth.
Who's this made by? Weisfeld family. What is this organization? I'm trying to work out what this organization is. There's not actually much information about what it really is.
The whole truth is this. The source of our power is our commitment to morality under the...
Thank you, 5 for funsies. Thank you, Toadburger, and thank you, Black Frosty, for joining as members. Greatly appreciated.
Most difficult of circumstances. Our commitment to protecting our citizens. For centuries, the world told us our lives were cheap. For centuries, we had no country and no army to prove them wrong. But now...
Also, by the way, this whole argument about Israel having an army is just really shit when you consider that, a lot of Slavic people and Russians who were exterminated in the Holocaust, by the way, had armies and still got fucking exterminated. And I tend to take the opinion of Boaz Evron on this subject. The answer is to move towards removing all these exterminationist ideologies rather than, kind of doing this. Kind of like just trying to say that we should have a mega strong army.
Now we have an army of Davids, men and women fighting to defend our families and our home. The only one we have. And that...
What shall I do? Shall I carry on watching this, or do you all not want to watch more of these people? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if you all say that you're kind of done with this, because it's not exactly the greatest thing in the world. It's just kind of slop. By the way, that video was produced during Israel's starvation campaign of the Gaza Strip. How Israel almost destroyed itself before it even began. How did the Mossad capture the Nazi who disappeared? Inside Mossad's top secret missions. The scientist who discovered DNA and the race to steal her work. Hold on, I'm just reading through these things. Why did a Japanese diplomat save thousands of Jewish people? 10 bizarre Jewish traditions. Why did baseball star skip the World Series? Sorry, I'm just looking through these. You don't want me to watch more. Let's watch Breaking Bad. I'm not sure that's really allowed on this platform, sadly. I think they wanted me to just watch it and talk about it. No more. Right, you've given your very strong opinions. So I guess, what is there to really talk about? I guess I could talk about the part that I'm sure that some of you were at least here for, but I don't think it actually were because I've not even talked about it. I kind of want to talk about Ethan's fucking crash out yesterday, his extended crash out. So, people interested in that, or would you like me to talk about any other facet? What are your thoughts on Palestine 100 years of... I don't actually know it very well. I'm sure it's great, and I like Khalidi's Brokers of Deceit, but yeah. Can you please donate... That opinionated girl's not interested in debating. I sent her a message an hour ago, and she said no. She's hosting a live at 5:30 p.m. What's Eastern time? So she's like... No, she's not going to... I can't debate her, because she's not interested. Okay, we'll look at some Ethan Crashout clips.
Joe Biden's an awful monster. Prostate cancer doesn't change that. Thanks, man.
To go find some actual monsters to be upset about.
Hold on. This is...
I'm gonna call Joe Biden an awful monster.
Yeah, man. Listen, you can.
Okay, I kind of want the clip unedited. Am I going to have to go on r/leftovers h3? Maybe I will. Sorry, I'm just looking for some things. Sorry, my PC's going fucking crazy in the background. Sorry, I can't see the chat right now. I mean, I saw him admit that he basically lied about denim, so that was interesting. This clip was pretty fucking horrible.
Fundraiser, and let's say hypothetically I'm planning to sue a bunch of these people. They just keep raising money because Noah's like, let's prove to Ethan that we can raise the money to fight this lawsuit, which is fine. Like I said, I prefer them raise the money so that I know that at least there's something left when I win, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to close stuff, but I'm not sure it can save things. Oh my god. Oh dear. Hold on, we're having some issues now. I've accidentally closed the YouTube thing. Oh, fuck. Sorry, 1 second. Hold on, we're having...
Man, that's...
I don't think he would win, because what's he even suing fucking Noah for, like, realistically?
That's just logic. That money's coming to me eventually, so it's good. If he was bankrupt, I wouldn't collect at all.
It's also pretty weird just looking at a charity live stream and thinking, yeah, I'd like to take that money from the people who did that.
So in a way, it's good for me that he's crowdfunding, but I do think it's funny.
But he's not crowdfunding for his lawsuit.
No, well, he said, I'm going to crowdfund, but I'm doing it to prove that we can. I said, instead of crowdfunding for the lawsuit, I'm going to crowdfund for Gaza.
But that's like an actual good cause.
Yes, it is.
So what?
So what's funny though is that he's asking his audience to chip in to prove, right, that he can crowdfund.
It doesn't prove anything like that of the sort at all.
There's got to be a limit. Like he can't go and you think he's going to go?
Well,
crowdfund
also
another
more
20,000?
people are obviously more willing to give to a cause that's going to a good cause versus some dude's lawsuit.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it's just shit. It's just shit. This is actually the clip that I was going to watch. I've read The Invention of the Mizrahim. That's it. And I've seen Forget Baghdad as well, Vela Shohat. And I like both. This is the one I was more interested in.
If you love Hamas so much, why don't you go fucking over there? Enjoy their how they'll treat you as someone who he's tweeting, I'm on drugs right now. And I looked into him and he has like a OnlyFans, right? There's a sex worker and a drug user. Your heroes at Hamas would love to have a word with you.
It's also really funny because, by the way, did you know that the very, very much Western-aligned Palestinian Authority also generally targets people on the basis and tries to claim that they're like drug users? So they often, when they arrest Palestinians, they prefer that they arrest like Palestinians for drug use, because then they can say, oh, the only reason you protest against us is because you're drug users and people are treated very poorly by them. And this idea, like, it's just ridiculous. It's just utterly ridiculous, you know. Like, it's just very Orientalist and saying, like, Hamas would kill you for being a drug user. Okay, within some Orthodox Israeli communities, you'd probably get killed. And who knows if they'd fucking kill you. I don't think they would. I don't think they would just kill you for no reason, really. Who fucking knows? I'm sure that someone can pull up an example of, hey, gay person killed. I don't think executions are enforced. There's that one commander, gay Hamas commander killed. Right. These are only published by like the Irish Times. Mohammed Ishtawi. So the only people... There's a lot of people publishing this. Hold on. Yeah, I mean, right now as well, Hamas has bigger problems, and I probably wouldn't just be like, they're gay-hating. Israel kills you regardless of you being gay or not. And also, by the way, people are killed for being gay in Western society, and people are killed for being trans. There have been multiple people murdered for being trans in the UK, and there are many others who suffer horrifying deaths as a result of their sexual identity from just random people doing it. Sex, torture and embezzlement in Gaza's most venerated and secretive institution. Mr. Ishtui was a commander from a storied family of Hamas loyalists who during the 2014 war was responsible for 1,000 fighters and a network of attack tunnels. Last month his former comrades executed him with 3 bullets to the chest. His death has become the talk of the town in the conservative quarters of Gaza. Ishtui, who is survived by 2 wives and 3 children, was not the first member of Izzeddin al-Qassam to be killed by his own. What was unprecedented was the way his relatives spoke out publicly about it. The family was considered Hamas royalty for having sheltered leaders wanted by Israel, including Diaf, the Qassam commander, the chief lionized by Palestinians. Mr. Ishtui's mother even sent Mr. Diaf, who has lost his eye and limbs but has survived repeated assassination attempts, a tearful video message in which she entreated him to release her son. A writer close to the Islamist group said, in the situation spotlighted shifts since Yahya Sinwar's election, Qassam into Qassam's blah 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 blah. He is harsher than other leaders. He wants his army to be pure. Those who are in Qassam. Qassam put out a statement announcing Mr. Ishtui's execution, have refused to comment. A senior Hamas official, however, confirmed some facts abroad, blah 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 blah. Human Rights Watch investigated the death, the group, and let's see what Human Rights Watch had to say. I don't actually need this on there. Palestinians torture death of Hamas detainee. I mean, particularly interesting. Yeah, I mean, Brianna Gay was stabbed for being trans in Western society in the UK. She was stabbed and murdered by random people on the street for being gay. Being trans, sorry. I mean, yeah, like, this is... His hands and wrists were swollen, the relative said, adding that 3 Qassam officers were in the room during the visit, and that Ishtui looked at the officers and waited for one to nod before answering any questions. During the 3rd visit, blah, 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 in the presence of the official, he said that the commander had beaten him about 500 times with a hose, ordering him to confess. According to the relative, Ishtui said he was innocent as Kleenex tissue is white. The relative said that the senior Hamas officials responded by saying that his interrogators should beat him in order to get the truth. I mean, what was he actually accused of? A second note, apparently signed by one of Qassam commanders responsible for Ishtui's interrogation, in which he was, "Believe me, you will not say the truth until the cement reaches your mouth." An allusion to a form of torture that includes threatening to bury the victim alive in a concrete grave. Ishtui was accused of embezzling money and special. Later they said he had been cleared of collaboration and embezzlement. So what was he... Okay, commanders of Qassam brigades initially told Ishtui, according to the relatives, it was apparent, so... killed 25 people accused of... Ishtui cases unusual, said they executed for moral license. According to President Mazoun, and had also called for moral crimes, often referred to sexual mixing, but it's highly unusual for an armed group to execute one of its members for that reason. Torture and other abuses. That's interesting. So all of these places say that he was executed for being gay. Where does it say that he's gay? Gay sex. If Israeli intelligence knew Mr. Ishtui was gay, the officials surmised perhaps he had given them gay sex. I mean, what? So this is just them saying it here. The report didn't mention... That's really interesting, because, I mean, it's quite interesting, because I've only ever heard this from Israeli propaganda outlets and people... But it just saying is here that it's unusual that they would kill someone for being gay. I mean, it doesn't sound like outside of the realms of possibility that someone did it. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, people doing this kind of stuff, I have no pretensions that, like, Hamas don't do, like, things. But I will also remind you that, like, we highly focus on this, but Donald Trump was just in a place where he was hanging out with Saudi Arabia, who are a close ally of Israel, and often it said, like, oh, they're immoral, they're this, they're that, and they were hanging out with, you know, fucking the Saudis, who definitely execute people for being gay. But yeah, like, I mean, like, unequivocally. There are many places that do this kind of stuff, but yeah. And also, you would go to Gaza. Like, also, you'd be existing within a different society. Like, I don't think the use of drugs would be so common or free. But it's just an interesting talking point, you know? It's just like Palestinians are this, they're that. And it's just like an unwillingness to confront the reality of the society and what you support.
I think that's a perfectly valid point to make. I don't think that's...
But he also said it on the basis of the fact that it's just like, oh, you're an Arab, but if you went and did this thing, you'd be executed. So I'm not really quite sure. I'm not really quite sure, like, why Ethan made the point. I feel like it is pretty offensive, you know?
It's Islamophobic at all.
Hassan would like have a way more solid case against Ethan than... Yeah, I would have them. It can be some internal political BS in the military wing as well. Yeah, I mean, maybe it is just an internal thing or wanting to get rid of him. I mean, call to investigation into... Amazon. I'm just looking. It's not like an awesome thing to like torture and murder someone, but I will also say that Israel regularly tortures and murders someone. And so, like, you know, you could just say, like, I don't think Ethan would say... In fact, Ethan openly says, like, oh, Palestinians, you know, they have a great time in Israel. How about try being, go to Israel and try and do these things, or go to Israel and try and advocate for Palestine. You may just be tortured and beaten, go and protest. You will probably be tortured, starved, beaten, given skin diseases and stuff, but that's not something that Ethan would say. You know, he actually tells you over and over again that Palestinians have a great time inside of Israel. But it's just this thing of being like, they don't like gays, you know, it creates a distinction between us and them. Western society, good to gays and all of these things. And let's just see these pager jokes. So this is ostensibly the pager joke.
I apologize, but like AB said, we got the memo. We got the memo.
Did she?
We know you're rearing and ready to go.
Did she page you, Dan? Did you check your?
I didn't. I didn't get anything on my pager. No. Yeah, I still use a beeper.
At this point,
I'll check again.
I mean, I watch these, and like, I do agree. I don't put it beyond these fucks to be making jokes about this. But like, I mean, yeah.
Tone deaf.
So this is the one of Frogan.
Does she know? I don't know if she knows what that means. What was tone deaf about it? What was the tone I was deaf to? Ah, there it is. There it is. That's the tone.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's just like quite... I mean, the only thing is like, I'm not really 100% sure that it's like directly that, but like, I mean, he kind of laughs at something that's hard to see. I'd like to see someone sort of explain to me why they think it's 100% a pager joke. I mean, as I say, I wouldn't put it past these people. But weren't a lot of Middle Eastern cultures pre-colonialism and even during colonialism more permissive of LGBT groups? I mean, Iran was sort of permissive in terms of sexual things and things like that. But like in the case of certain places, not always, you know, sodomy wasn't banned in Palestine until the British Empire imported over the rules in that way. But ultimately, Ethan doesn't say these without like a wider context. Ethan doesn't say these things without like the wider context of thinking Arabs and Muslims are different. I mean, he said if you go to Ramallah, you'll get lynched. He says all of these things, but he never says all of these things about Palestinians, you know? He never says like, about these things about Israelis. It's always about creating a distinction between us and them, you know? The Ottoman Chris, the Ottomans. How can they joke about the pager shit? I mean, the only thing is like, are they directly 100% joking about it? Is it like 100% implied that this is like exactly what they're joking about? Be playing clips of AB and Lena. I just want to see what people say about this in here. It's called Men Without Beard. It's called Women with Beards and Men Without Moustaches. Hold on, let me check that. I'll check what it's called. Women with Moustaches and Men Without Beards is what the book's called. I'll post it again. It's just not very funny, and I'm sure maybe it is a subtle reference to the pager. I did not know she was Lebanese too. That makes all the stuff worse. Lena spoke about this, how dad still traumatized by the pager incident he was in Lebanon. After hearing those pager noises, I'm pretty sure it's a Nokia ringtone. But I mean, that is a Nokia ringtone, I will say on that. But like, it doesn't surprise me. But yeah, I think the whole point is you switch to these sort of you like, look, all of these people who talk about basically how all of these people who talk about, like, fucking what gay rights in the Middle East don't give a fuck about gay rights or making them better. It is just the new version of Orientalism. Orientalism was once obsessed with, like, Arabs. Like, Victorian men used to go to the Middle East to, like, bang loads of, like, women who you could... There's, like, something about, like, how you could pay women to basically do anything in the Middle East. They viewed it as a place of sexual excess. In recent times, it's changed much more. What would the joke be otherwise? I mean... I guess you're right. I don't think there is much of another joke to it. I think that that's actually it. I think that that's actually probably the way of seeing it. Like, why are you saying pager, actually? I guess, yeah, like, what else would it be? Why else would you be laughing? Because my point is much more like, I don't know the basically, I mean, I can actually just find out the full context of it. But, like, the whole thing is that, like, yeah, basically... Actually, you are fucking 100% right. What else is there? What else is there that this could possibly fucking be? Like, you know, you're making a joke about pages and just both instantaneously laughing. It's kind of quite fucking weird. And I think also, by the way, like, if Israel had conducted, like, people are like, oh, it's this awesome operation. Israel conducted the pager operation so it could continue genocide in Gaza. They didn't do it for, like, they didn't do it for any other reason. Like, that's why they did it. I don't, you don't love... I don't disdain, like, Said's work. Orientalism is worth reading. I just think it's not necessarily the best thing. But yeah, like, just looking at this, I think that is probably the argument of, like, why it would be a pager thing. And Zionists fucking love these pager jokes. These fucking pager... someone just put it as a threat, and I think you're probably right to frame it as such. Just want to see if that opinionated girl is replying, but she's not. So she's the one who's now said that she doesn't want to bid. I'm watching your stream and Noah's stream at the same time, but yeah, I watched your video to help me get through finals. Thank you. It's definitely implied. He tried to sue the subreddit, but his lawyers were like, you can't have him as a... Hello, cute AEP. You haven't been here in a while. Be handled by the smart advanced Europeans. Exactly. And also, by the way, I just don't think Europeans handle gay rights very well. I think, like, there's, in a sense, like, yeah, we have gay marriage, but it didn't... This is what he kind of writes about in Homo Zion, Hussein Omar, which is an article that I'd highly recommend because it's kind of a deeper look about it's kind of a deeper it's a deeper look into pinkwashing and stuff that I don't think is approached by other people. It's quite hard to summarize and stuff. Thank you, Eliza. Got to go. Enjoy the rest of the stream. Excited for your upcoming videos. Have a great evening. Thank you very much. That opinionated girl is a Zionist TikToker. It's not you. But yeah, what was I just about saying? Oh, but Homo Zion kind of talks about how, like, the way in which gay rights were institutionalized around something progressive in terms of like the only that they were kind of institutionalized to be around gay marriage, but it left a lot of marginalized queer people out. And I think when you're talking about gay rights and you talk about them in the sense of, like, Hamas would kill you for being a gay sex worker, like, would they 100%? Would you tweet those things if you existed within Palestine? And by the way, it's never people who are willing... Sorry, I just went on Twitter and... Fuck's sake, I just went on Twitter and the first thing is just straight up Bad Empanada posting those loner box fucking DMs. But yeah, like, sorry, gay marriage is institutionalized and people make out as if gay marriage fixed things for gay and queer people. I don't think it did. Queer people are still striving for liberation. In the same way that people would cite some, like, women's rights that were gained historically as a means to, you know, as a means to basically say, hey, women have a great time here, whilst women are still engaged in a feminist movement to try and equalize relations between men and women, and also to try and establish women as having a better existence within Western society and no longer be treated horribly, you know. But yeah, and so people only bring it up in this context, but, like, Ethan's not, like, an advocate for, like, well, I suppose he said some things about, like, trans rights, but, you know, it's only really when it can be used to bash Palestine that it's great to talk about. And also, by the way, sex workers are regularly experience extreme violence. Particularly probably queer sex workers actually experience extreme violence, but you know, it's just kind of interesting. You can be killed for being a gay sex worker if you're from certain marginalized communities here, you know. Equity is a grander project. Right, I really need to pee, to be honest, so I'm just going to be back in a second. Sorry, I've had too much water and too much tea today. I'm just going to move. Whenever I go for a piss, everyone starts to fucking disappear. Like, you lose like 70 people. I have an Evian bottle for this stream. I am not peeing in this fucking thing. I need some music. Yeah, I'll play, no, the stream is not over as of yet. God, sorry, I'm trying to think of, what did I read on Orientalism? Oh, God, hold on. Give me a second. Actually, there's something I want to talk about as well. Hold on. No, I need... free ketamine because that need is by G. Right. Hold on, sorry. So, right. Here we go. Okay, so if you want to read about Orientalism, right. Dag to Astad, Neo-Orientalism and the New Barbarism Thesis. Schmidt S., The Framed Arab Muslim Mediated Orientalism was pretty good. The Narrative of Orientalism, I don't actually think I read that. Neo-Orientalism, The Relationship Between the West and Islam in Our Globalized World was good, by Samimi. Saeed I cited. Sadowski is really good, The New Orientalism and Democracy Debate. Makdisi, Ottoman Orientalism is really good. Reverse Orientalism by John Hoffman is freely available and I'd recommend it. Halabi, Orientalism and US Democratization is good as well. Jasmine Ghani, that's a really good piece. Orientalism from the thing to practice. So if you want to read anything about Orientalism. Right, the thing that I actually wanted to talk about is there's a really good example of why Ethan's words are so stupid. About like, hey, if you were a gay sex worker, you'd be getting fucked. Oh, fuck's sake. Does anyone have the clip of Ethan? Oh, here we go. Right. Shout out psychedelic
Joke, but I think it's
socialist.
too fucked up.
Oh boy.
Can I say it and then button it? I'll type it. I don't think you guys.
Hey guys, can I do an American? Hi guys, can I do an Islamophobic joke? Sorry, a misogynistic joke. Hi guys, let me just type out the anti-Semitic joke I want to make. Is that okay? guys, I need you to check whether it's okay to make this anti-Semitic joke.
You're gonna like this one.
Start there.
You guys aren't gonna like this one.
We're not, or we
I
are?
don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Guys, I'm typing out a joke. I'm gonna send this and check it's okay to make the anti-Semitic joke. My handlers are checking if I can do the anti-Semitic joke.
You're gonna hate this one. You're gonna
I'm texting Bad Empanada and checking if I can make the anti-Semitic joke.
hate it.
How about no?
No. Sorry guys, Bad Empanada said I can't do the anti-Semitic joke. It's really funny though. This is a fuck who literally calls women bitches all the time. And like, women experience extremist misogynistic violence within Western society. But no doubt, I mean, like, literally, let's look at this story. Recently in the UK, a guy murdered an entire fucking family with a crossbow. This guy called Kyle Clifford, who was an extremist misogynist, this guy. And you kind of sit there and like someone like Ethan is like telling you about like, oh, Hamas do this, Hamas do that. They're so gay phobic. And it's just like, hey man, you're making jokes like this. You know, you say one thing about your views and then you do another. And it's just like, oh, you know, I have to check with my handlers whether I can do a misogynistic joke.
Yeah, I knew you guys weren't gonna like that one.
Delete it from chat so you don't accidentally
leak it later.
Delete it from your thoughts.
Not bad. No, I'll delete it. Yeesh. Just
like the only work that Ethan Klein has done to combat misogyny in his entire fucking life, or like talk about the feminist experiences, is have debates with fucking like Andrew Tate, and it's just like. What is that? Like, basically, you just debate Andrew Tate and that's it, you know? Like, that's fucking it. It's just ridiculous. And all of these people who make distinctions, like, he literally refers to Hamas as barbaric and all of these fucking things. But the truth is that Palestinians is... the truth is that all societies have these kind of like, you know... all societies have issues, but Westerners are unwilling to reflect on them, to be honest. I'm just going to see if I can get the Biden clip, because that's the last one I'll watch. That's enough Ethan for today.
Wondering the rep.
Sorry, I like this tweet. OG Snarker King. This tweet sent Ethan Klein and his wife in with a cool hat into a blind rage.
Reputation of a war criminal who oversaw the genocide of Palestinians. Didn't oversee it.
He didn't oversee the genocide. He didn't. It's just like Ethan says. This is why Ethan was impossible for Hassan to debate. Ethan says on the one hand, Israel's doing genocide. Then on the other account, he says like that Israel is that Joe Biden didn't oversee a genocide. Like, also, by the way, the Gaza genocide was... sorry, I keep spelling pressure wrong. The Gaza genocide was much more... so here's Middle East Monitor talking about it. I'm sure that there's, like, someone else who talks about it. Joe Biden knowingly allowed Israel's genocide to happen in Gaza. Anyway, Israel's targeted attacks on healthcare, its destruction of houses and all of these things... That's what the genocide was. And these things all happened under Biden, by the way, you know.
Such a stretch. Whose selfish nature allowed...
Such a stretch.
Trump to win a second term. Wait. Let me read this again.
Missionaries actively wondering repetition of war criminal who oversaw genocide Palestinians whose selfish nature allowed Trump to win a...
Bitch, who did you vote for?
He also said, by the way, he definitely voted for Kamala, didn't he? What's his name? Hassan did. But on this topic, by the way, like the UK government, the UK government, what? I fully believe that Keir Starmer, the UK Labour government, and their failure to do anything progressive and sucking up to the right and doing all of this shit is doing nothing apart from moving us closer towards reform winning. I think his total failure on Palestine will only move us closer towards that. And so, yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of just ridiculous.
Kamala Harris, according to what he said during the interview.
Right.
Who did he tell his audience to vote for?
Right.
His audience of millions. Joe Biden's an awful monster. Prostate cancer doesn't change that. Thanks, man.
To go find some actual monsters to be upset about.
You know what came?
Also, like, I do think that the US government are like monsters, you know. I think the US government are monsters in the same way that I think Lammy and all of them are. I genuinely think, like, by the way, it's been 3 months of starvation, and this has been endorsed by a Labour government up until today, pretty much. They've only given statements and not done anything really about it. And like, I think Biden wouldn't have done anything about it. I'm going to be honest, I think Kamala would have allowed it to happen in exactly the same way.
Start with say in response
Joe
to this?
Biden an awful monster.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can disagreeing with the way he handled it is fair. This whole report that people are parroting about how he didn't urge them to do a ceasefire is like from a completely irreputable paper, just complete fucking dog shit.
I mean, also, I would say in a sense, wherever it came from wouldn't really fucking matter, because Biden could have got a ceasefire. Trump has shown that the US could directly negotiate with Hamas and free Edan Alexander. The US could have ended all of this. The US could have bypassed Israel, it could have stopped giving them weapons, but it made a choice not to. It made a choice to allow the genocide to go on. So the idea that it is the paper which is the only indication that that Biden did nothing is really, you know, quite something. It's quite a stream for Ethan, you know. We've got a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of Orientalism. Like, and I just think it's very funny because obviously, like, I don't think my degrees give me the ability to know everything about Palestine or answer every single question you have. I just make educated guesses about stuff. But I will tell you one thing. I don't operate within these frameworks of, like, Arabs bad and, like, barbarous, and I don't parrot these talking points for a very specific reason. I also don't need to deny, like, hey, there's misogyny, bigotry in the Arab world. Of course that's fine to say. Also, the term Arab world is actually in of itself, not to be too woke, but the term Arab world is problematic because it's far wider. What was the paper in question? What paper? Oh, the paper that I showed you the sources from. That's my dissertation. I don't want to publish it because I might write a PhD about that. I don't know.
Report that Sam Cedar regurgitated too.
Loaderbox called me up and he told me, yo, that's from an irreputable paper. Just ignore everything Biden did. If we had Kamala, they would have stopped Israel, bro. Like, Israel was discussing plans to expel the population of Gaza as early as 2023. Like, as early as 2023 and long before that, by the way. And this sort of point about, like, hey, you know, Biden would have done different. Biden facilitated the Gaza genocide. Like, I'm sorry, if you believe there is a genocide and you're like, oh, you're wrong for saying these things about Biden, it's really quite insane to think about, isn't it? Because, like, it's just not really... like, how is it incongruent saying, like, Biden is a genocidal monster and then, like, looking at his actions? Like, how is it not? Biden said, like...
Hello, I'm Nikki Schiller. Welcome to the programme. We start this hour with the latest developments in the Middle East. President Biden has promised Israel ironclad United States support amid fears that Iran could launch reprisals for an attack that killed senior Iranians. US media are reporting that an American general will visit Israel on Thursday to discuss Washington's fears. President Biden warned that Iran is threatening to launch a significant attack after Israel struck the Iranian consulate in Syria 10 days ago. Mr. Biden was speaking hours after the Iranian Supreme Leader again said Israel would be punished for the strike on its consulate. Meanwhile, the Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh says there'll be no change in the group's demands for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza, despite the killing of 3 of his sons in an Israeli airstrike. Israeli media is reporting that the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had not been briefed in advance of the attack. This video is believed to show Ismail Haniyeh receiving the news in Qatar, where he lives in exile. Israel has confirmed the strike, describing the sons as Hamas military operatives. He's been actively involved in negotiations to broker a ceasefire.
There are so many examples of Biden saying, my support to Israel is ironclad. Like, hang on a second. You think there's a genocide going on, and now you don't think Biden was involved in that?
You could criticize him, but, like,
Maybe not now.
You can't. Well, he's not the fucking architect of this. You know what I mean? And
I mean, he literally lied and said there were beheaded babies. Also, because just in case someone sees that and they say, well, Biden was talking about the context of Iran. Biden speaks with Netanyahu, pledges ironclad support for Israel, 9th of October 2024. The genocide had been raging for months. Ethan, you said there's a genocide, and he's giving them ironclad support. It's mad. And by the way, it's why Ethan's like, yeah, I won that debate. Ethan can see... I don't know what Ethan believes. Well, I do know what Ethan believes. Ethan just believes in Orientalism.
This man has...
Maybe not now. By the way, also, what Hassan is saying is also objectively correct, because I would say, you know, the 9th of October, where Biden is vowing ironclad support, a term which he repeated over and over again, under a month before the election. Yeah, maybe that's going to have an effect on the election, you know.
He lived his life in service to the country.
He served the country like his whole life.
Yeah, a whole life. And by the way, he was always the poorest dude in college.
If you ask Hila Klein who shoots people alive and dead, probably first of all Biden, not a monster. Second of all Yoav Gallant, and third of all fucking probably Ben Gurion.
Congress.
Talk about selfish nature.
This dude of all the people.
Douglas Murray is not from Nebraska. He is from England. He is a thinker.
Son.
Yeah, exactly. He knows about selflessness.
Yeah.
Hey, can you stop drinking Diet Coke for a minute? I am so sorry. You do not know how this works.
What is this? Also, why is he obsessed with this Diet Coke thing? It wasn't on BDS.
Not only can you stop, can you at least even pretend to stop on stream? That's what that one fan asked him. Can you at least pretend?
Just put it in a cup, man. Biden's an awful monster. Prostate cancer doesn't change that. What would Keemstar say?
Can't wait to report your death.
You read my mind. I would never say.
I think there's a big difference between Total Biscuit and also between Total Biscuit and his death and, you know, a Total Biscuit's death and fucking Joe Biden. You know, Total Biscuit made videos about like fucking Dota and shit and other games, and Biden offered ironclad support to a man doing expulsion and genocide.
Say that.
And also, yeah, on the topic of BDS, Coke was not BDS at the time Hassan was asked about that. Now it is, and Hassan says he doesn't drink it, and I'm inclined to believe him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's a stunning lack of empathy upon hearing someone has cancer, and instead of like,
I mean, I think when you've overseen so much violence in the world that so much of my sympathy is gone for you, and you've lived your entire life just being a racist piece of shit, you know, you didn't stop an active genocide that you could have stopped, by the way. You know, it's kind of mad to me.
like, you know, feeling empathy, your immediate response is to try to dunk on them is very disgusting and gross.
Maybe you can take some empathy lessons from iDubbbz.
Well, I think that...
Yeah, I don't think, like, so many Palestinians were exterminated. I really don't care about empathy towards Joe Biden.
Might be the problem. All right, so that's it, Dan. Laundry.
Great video from Ethan. I mean, here are some of his other brilliant takes on Joe Biden.
People wish the Biden administration had done a lot more to push Netanyahu around instead of seemingly getting pushed around by him, which, in my perception, is like pretty much what's been happening.
Is Exeter good for a PhD? What, in Middle Eastern studies or Middle Eastern history? Yeah, there are some great people to work with.
Right.
I don't know, but like, I don't think there's only so much influence they have over the Israeli government. Man.
By the way, they also bombed Yemen so Israel could carry on doing genocide, which was like, it lacked congressional approval.
Biden was a class act, I'll tell you. When Trump was coming up, he welcomed him. He said, welcome home. You know, the guy's got class.
Yeah.
He's a presidential dude. He's spent his entire life in service to this country.
I don't care if he has class, bro. Like, it's like telling me that I should be sad when Jimmy Carter died. Thank you, Terra Trove Tales. Thank you for educating so many people. Thank you very much. Yet another lib take. But yeah, it's like saying, oh, Carter died and Carter was slightly better on Palestine. Okay, yeah, Carter was slightly better on Palestine, but I just don't really think that like absolves Carter from all of the other things he did, you know. He played a big role in trying to pull the Soviet Union into Afghanistan and stuff, in my understanding. Or it was Brzezinski who was like his foreign secretary? Is that what it's called? Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs?
You know, people's efforts to smear him because he wasn't like anti-genocide enough is just...
Supporting a genocide, but in a classy way.
There's only so...
Yeah, I know about this. And ostensibly, Biden said to Menachem Begin that Menachem Begin should do more genocide. So, I mean, I don't really have much sympathy for Menachem Begin, you know. I don't have sympathy for fucking Menachem Begin at all. But I definitely don't have much sympathy for fucking Joe Biden. Like, I just don't know why you care about Joe Biden, you know. Like, who cares? Who cares? It's not like he brought about, like, a... I mean, he also, it's also not just like the Gaza genocide. I mean, this is another example. Like, the racist legacy of the crime bill he backed. Senator Joe Biden stood proudly behind Bill Clinton as he signed into law a reform bill that touched nearly every aspect. I mean, it's just about the crime bill, which was just like a racist piece of legislation. So, you know, it's kind of fucking mad.
He did a lot. He cared. He had his foot on the
wow,
levers.
my
You guys don't
PCs.
understand that.
Woof. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's rather fucking ridiculous. It's rather fucking ridiculous. Right, we'll move on to a tiny bit more news, and then I think we'll call it a day shortly. But I'm enjoying streaming at the moment, so I'm glad there's quite a lot of people here today. It's nice.
You were the last... So after a few days in Doha, you were the last week with the negotiations team. We're in the midst of a new attempt.
My PC is always fucking, is also always fucking burning.
How close would you say are we to a new hostage deal?
I'm not going to speak on things that, first of all, some that I was part of, some that I wasn't part of, so I don't want to overspeak, and I think a lot of those things are fluid and confidential. So let me just speak generally in this area, which is I do think we're closer than we ever were, and part of that is because of movement that...
My stream schedule is normally Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday, but this week I'm busy all weekend, so I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, so I'm going to stream tomorrow as well.
The IDF in it.
I know, Terra Trove Tales. I know you keep saying I just need to sort out my PC. It's just a case of getting around to it. I'm always quite busy, but yeah.
Israel did on the ground. And so that does, it strengthens our hand.
So as opposed to France, the UK, and what was the other country? Canada, who criticized Israel today for the ground operation, the United States supports it?
The United States has always been a fervent supporter of Israel.
That's true.
And I think we always think about how you balance various aspects. But if I were a European country, I'd be particularly sensitive to how I criticize Israel.
It's just fucking mad, you know, listening to all these people fucking talk about it and just listening to what he's saying. Yeah. The Tabernacle is going to be on it. Oh, great. Isn't the Tabernacle's brother also a YouTuber or something like that? There's also a video that I wanted to watch here.
אמש, במחטף, לחדש את הסיוע לכל רחבי הרצועה היא טעות קשה וחמורה. צריך להגיד את האמת לציבור במדינת ישראל. הסיוע הזה שמגיע לכל רחבי הרצועה יגיע גם לידיים של החמאס. זו הסיבה שסירבו לבקשתי להצבעה, זו הסיבה שידעו שיש לי רוב להפיל את ההצבעה הזאת. כל החודשים האחרונים התנגדתי התנגדות חמורה להכניס הומניטרי לרצועת עזה. צריך להסביר לנשיא טראמפ שההומניטרי הזה מסכן את חיי החיילים שלנו. אסור לתת חמצן לאויבים שלנו. ההחלטה שהתקבלה...
Really interesting. Just Ben Gvir saying that they should starve all of the Gaza Strip. It's really fucking mad listening to that. I'm just going to double check that the fucking person didn't want to debate me today. Because I'm quite tired, but she's ignored my messages. she sent me a very weird message, and then when I asked her a question, she ignored it. So, you still block the translation, Demons. We can't see subtitles fully. Can you not? Oh shit! Sorry. Sorry about that. We can rewatch it.
לחדש את הסיוע לכל רחבי הרצועה היא טעות קשה וחמורה. צריך להגיד את האמת לציבור במדינת ישראל. הסיוע הזה שמגיע לכל רחבי הרצועה יגיע גם לידיים של החמאס. זו הסיבה שסירבו לבקשתי להצבעה, זו הסיבה שידעו שיש לי רוב להפיל את ההצבעה הזאת. כל החודשים האחרונים התנגדתי התנגדות חמורה להכניס הומניטרי לרצועת עזה. צריך להסביר לנשיא טראמפ שההומניטרי הזה מסכן את חיי החיילים שלנו.
I love how it's just this aid endangers our soldiers, so we need to just starve people. But also, by the way, as I talked about yesterday, the only reason that Smotrich doesn't think they should do this is not out of like, oh, you know, or like the reason Israel's actually doing it. This is just a fucking circus to have Ben Gvir on one side, Smotrich on the other, Netanyahu saying, oh, you know, we're resuming aid, we're doing this and that. Has the aid even gone in? I mean, we'll check Al Jazeera. Today we're hearing the news that aid has entered. Today children sleep without dinner and drink salty water. This is the real famine are now experiencing. He added that, I mean, it just doesn't seem to have even gone in. Like, it's no aid distributed in Gaza. Today our teams waited several... God, they didn't even do it. They didn't even distribute the aid. And what time is it? It's 9:30 in the night. There's no trucks. No trucks went in. 5 trucks went in last night, and 100 were meant to go in today, and just none fucking went in. It's mental, isn't it? I did see that 2 of them were shrouds. I haven't seen that confirmed by anyone, just people on Twitter. But I mean, it sounds plausible. I mean, Israel's a very cruel entity, but it's just ridiculous. It's just utterly ridiculous. It's just kind of insane. I mean, like, yeah. So this is pretty interesting. And I guess I didn't really talk about this. It does seem a tiny chance that Europe might turn on them a little bit. I think, actually, you know what? I think part of me is thinking increasingly that there might be a slight turn on Israel. That basically the Gaza genocide is inescapable, that it is a genocide at this point. That because of the way that Israel is behaving, and because of the fact that they're just openly starving people, it means that, you know, you can't escape the fact that this is genocide, you know? And I think that Western governments are sort of reaching this point of, holy shit, we are very complicit when Israel has now made it explicit that their only plan is extermination, that the hostages don't matter. I mean, anyone with a brain could have worked this out, but it's very obvious. But it's very obvious for this. And also, by the way, this is what an Israeli news outlet, I think probably Ma'ariv, is quoting. Yeah, Ma'ariv. The deal of his life, the reward Smotrich received from Netanyahu in exchange for aid entering Gaza. Apparently there's a deal for 22 new settlements being legalised in the West Bank is in return. But I think that Western governments are kind of just moving towards, like, basically... sorry, I'm just seeing something of Rubio below that. But yeah, I think it's all smoke and mirrors. Maybe it's smoke and mirrors so they can get away with the genocide. But, like, it's not enough. And if there was going to be a major change, perhaps it all would have come out now that it was going to be a major change. But it's still not come out, you know. It's only, oh, we're suspending a future trade negotiation. It's not, hey, we're severing ties with Israel. And so it remains to be seen what will actually come of it. But, I don't know. I just have to hope, you know, in a sense. Alright guys, I'm going to call it there because I'm getting tired and I'm starting to flag. Thank you all for coming. I hope you have a good rest of the evening. I'll be back live again tomorrow. Same time, 5 PM UK, talking about the news. Ethan Klein fucking, I don't know, making... Ethan Klein going to the Middle East and trying to claim that the Muslims have got a harem going on over there. But yeah, thank you all for coming. Have a lovely rest of the day.